see it. We're falling like stars, and I didn't notice the chaos inside my heart. Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? You thought I knew.
Just walk away from everything.
know until it happens. Ain't a thing you see coming a mile away. But suddenly lightning somehow got into the bottle. Now you need to move fast to make it stay. You should hurry to love him now. You should hurry to love him now.
Welcome to the Global Series with Gormizer and Pretty Hair. That's Gormizer. I'm Pretty Hair. For any of you that don't know, and seeing Akate and Fuzzy on there made me a little sad. I think.
Yeah, Hikate no longer going to be around.
Yeah.
And their team's changed up a
Fuzzy
bit.
may be on a different team, right? I don't think
Yeah.
he's done entirely, but Akate, Fuzzy Logic, two of the boys from Burrito down in Latin America, two absolute legends, frankly, to come from the Global Series. Are really some of the most, I think, fun stories to tell about people that have gotten their start in this Global Series and have really made a name for themselves on some of the biggest stages.
It's going to be interesting to see where the team ends up falling up, just because it was one of those moments where like they were constantly at land someone that we could expect coming through
Yeah.
and potentially upsetting and getting first place. And now it's like, well, you're missing pretty much two of your high priority, like your DPS, the guys that were not necessarily leading the way for the team, but like they made it so much easier. You're going to have a lot of trouble replacing that kind of talent.
It's a good point that you make, and now I think we get to really see how important Sadak, Puleule, and Crimson were to that
Yeah.
squad. You know how we always talked about how incredible that front line is for that squad. Let's see who can do it right behind them. Can anyone really do it and find success behind Puleule and Sadak? Guys, let's get global. Let's take a look at the schedule for the PGS. We're going all around the world. As you can see, Tuesday is already behind us. That's EU and Brazil. Today is Oceania and NA. Tomorrow will be Southeast Asia. And down on Friday will be CIS and LATAM, with the rest of PPL, EU, NA, as well as the PCL on Monday. Everything's sprinkled out throughout the week. Let's take a look at the weekly schedule because we've seen some major changes in how the Global Series works.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams now have come into the point where they were playing regularly. But instead of having to go, okay, week one, we qualify
Right.
for week 4, and we're just going to play twice a month, essentially, competitively, it's round robin. There's 4 teams in the league for each region, and each of them are trying to fight to be the top spot, still to be able to come towards HRX, to come here and be able to play against a lot of the PPL teams.
So think mini PPL, right? It's
Yeah.
working almost the exact same as the PPL, just with best of 3s instead of best of 5s, with a couple of less teams as well. Let's take a look at the standings today for Oceania, the region that we will be starting with. We've got one familiar name. Oh, we're going to look at everyone's beautiful. We get to see, the 2-0s, the O2s for everyone. About Despacito 2, Kanga Esports, Pantheon, Trident Esports. Pantheon rings a bell. We'll have to see. Obviously, Kanga, they're the biggest name
Yeah.
in Oceanic. Paladins, but we get to see the rest of these guys. And, can another team step up in OCE to take them down? Because they've just been systematically losing players after every land. Since this year started, they are really just kind of a much smaller version of the roster that they once were.
I still expect to see Kanga do well, and I didn't realize I'm wearing Kanga colors when it comes down to it,
Hey.
but I really want to see
too,
Despacito
just dial
2
back.
just do a little bit better.
Hey,
Only because I like the
Despacito
name
2? Okay.
for the meme.
Absolutely. Me too. Guys, let's go ahead. Let's get into the maps. For our first series of the day, Despacito 2. Obviously a great name there and a fun little logo. Sometimes we get to take a look at these teams that don't have logos and make them one, and I'm told that this one was actually made by some of our boys
I'm loving it.
backstage there. And how could you not? Quite frankly, I mean, what is that little Little M16 on our cowboy, completely strapped up, armored to the teeth, big sombrero as well. Because how could you Despacito without a sombrero on? Fish Market's banned out. Stone Keep is banned away as well. Serpent Beach will be the first one on the docket. Into picks and bans we go. And God, that's actually a really all
it's a really
memes aside, it's good.
Logo.
You know what I mean? Like it's very detailed. And that's like, I don't know, it's not that easy to do that. I feel like with just kind of like the vectoring and the lines and what that logo is made out of. So hats off to Joe and Blake.
Being able to pull that out. I'm actually surprised. I feel like it's...
So do they get that royalty free?
I don't know.
Or do they got to...
they got to like... Yeah, all right. Like, we made your logo. Come on.
Make it rain on production. All right, Leon's gone. Cassie gone. Torvald gone. Now, we've been seeing a slight shift in priority bans. Khan has stayed constant, I will say. But we see the Ying hovered first. And after getting to watch most of the PGS yesterday, is there anything else that you're looking out for in the 1.4 Wild West?
I mean, Grok is always going to be up there. I feel like Victor, this is another map. Like this one and Frog Isle, I think, are ones where he can still show a lot of his strengths, especially with burst mode. But even with a lot of the changes, I don't know if I expected like Ying to skyrocket at first, right?
I mean,
I expected a lot of those picks that were changed to like take those steps forward and be picked up in the 10, but not skyrocketing.
And you have to imagine that this is going to be life exchange because nothing else was changed about Ying. Lifelike wasn't changed, focusing lens wasn't changed. All of that was open and available forever for all of these teams, right? But it's with a brand new talent life exchange that makes me think, maybe this is the girl that we need nowadays.
And it's one of those things, especially if you can get it set up, and this is actually a perfect way to set it up. Ying having to use illusions, I would put her in the same area as like Grok, where it's like if you can get a dead zone on like where the illusions are, all of a sudden their healing's not going to be doing anywhere near as much. Everyone wants to be a little bit closer. I think you can still get outside the range of it and still get healed, but being able to take that away makes Moldamba's job a little bit harder.
So we see Makoa go 7th, we see Willow go 6th, we saw Andrew will go...
Everything's topsy-turvy.
Yeah, 10th and final pick. It is definitely turned on its head, and to be fair, this is the PGS's OCE PGS, two teams that I've never really heard of, right? So you gotta take this with a grain of salt. This may not be the way it shakes out. This is the first, week or two we're seeing of competitive 1.4 Paladins. So a lot is still subject to change in terms of new things being figured out, better builds, pick orders, yada, yada, yada. And this is closer to a league format. Like you said, it's double round robin. These guys are going to play each other twice. They'll start to figure each other out a little bit. You know what I mean? They'll start to figure out, all right, these guys like this. They play this way on this map. This is how we need to practice and draft. And then, the teams that are doing more homework and getting better against one another are the ones that will find more success in this new format.
And I think it's been very interesting to see, and this is something Shakespeare's running. And again, someone who's been around the scene for a long time, Lizlak as well, playing for a lot of different teams in OCE, but he's still going for shrapnel here instead of burst mode, so it's going to be a little bit more focus on that detonation, trying to get those grenade bounces. It's going to be able to get a lot of damage because of it, but you're still going to see the standard kind of regular rifle.
Yeah, and Victor's been such a staple. It's kind of funny to watch. He's picked up here and there on a couple of maps, a couple of people, but overall, this pick, I feel like I've seen it every game at this point. Console and PC. Now, you do mention the good point, burst mode versus shrapnel. That was really kind of the differentiating factor between console and PC.
And the thing that really gets me is because a lot of loadouts for Victor, and I feel like when it comes down to it, no matter what, either of the talents are going to be useful, but a lot of the loadouts go towards your grenade anyway, because everything else is like, well, maybe I'll reduce the recoil, maybe I'll reduce the time it takes to scope, but for the most part, there's not a lot of stuff that you're focusing on your gun. Like, you don't really need the extra ammo in a magazine, you don't really need too much, so you'd rather let's generate ammo when I throw the grenade, let's make sure it loses cooldown if I hit people, and shrapnel helps those cards enabled a little bit more. But burst mode still, it's damage no matter what.
I think that's, an incredible point that you bring up, to be honest, because, Victor with burst mode, he's just going to be not out of range of his other cards being effective.
Yeah.
But you're right, those cards are all tuned around, how close he had to get before and his fall-off curve before burst mode. So, I don't know. I think that's a really good point that you make there. And we're ready to get back into game here for game number 1, Serpent Beach, between Despacito 2 and Trident.
I like the fact that we have to say Despacito 2 for all of this.
They've
cornered us.
A troll name has been fun to say. Jay Quibb, he's going to go down there. Purple Sherbert as well. And now that we're in game, I actually do recognize a decent amount of these.
Yeah.
Basically everyone on Trident Esports I think I recognize, and most of the people on Despacito too. So it is still players that were floating around near the top of the OCE PGS scene. Purple Sherbert dismount, float there to maintain momentum. Just got to get in there for the touch. He barely does. Misses the reversal, won't get the reset. No more dashes to bail him out. And Nara and Barrick trying to hold down the front line, but look at Willow. She is in her spot.
Doing as best as they can. They do get the resets, but everybody that's still alive is sitting on Despacito too, and unfortunately it's just one of those areas, like you said, Willow sitting where she was. It's right where you don't expect. Like, you're not going to look there when you walk into the point. You see 3 people in front of you, and Willow's behind a pillar on your balcony, so you're just like, man,
you just slowly,
where am I getting shot from?
You slowly come to terms with it. You know, if she's positioned appropriately, she can't be poked as you're entering the arena. She's going to be playing the far edge. You have to actually put yourself in danger, go onto the point, but that's perfect. That is, you know, PPL level execution there. When you lock it down, you put your blaster or your most dangerous DPS in a place like that where it forces all of the front lines or would-be contesters to have to make a very difficult decision about who they want to prioritize.
After watching this for a second, I feel like we've seen Purple Sherbert go through like the warm-up phase on Androxus, right? Where it's just like, all right, missing a few shots,
you're right.
not hitting the reversals, and then all of a sudden it's headshot, 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 and it's just like clean and crisp after that. So I'm wondering if this is going to maybe start picking up for Trident, just as you can see him get a little bit more in tune with the champion.
And I want to take a look at this Ying loadout here, actually, when we get a second. Illusory Rift is popped, though, so it looks like Despacito 2 is trying to hit the gas pedal here. Ying Illusion will go to the high ground. She's got a little bit of brittle coming through there. It's a card that you've come to know and love here in 1.44.
And it's one of those things, I was actually looking at it, and as much as every single thing will tell you in the game that it is a 4-second cooldown for Shatter, it's 6 seconds, so when you have Brittle 5, that brings it down to 2.5 whenever you right-click. I think you can float around level 4 and 5 for it to actually make a big difference. It's 3 seconds versus 2.5, 2.5, so it's not going to make a huge deal in terms of healing, and that allows you to float that extra point somewhere else, maybe looking at your illusions and keep that healing up a little bit more.
37 seconds left on the clock here in round number 1. Despacito 2 running into a bit of a struggle here. I was literally just about to say a little bit of a lack of vertical mobility here, but then Anar just goes pop-tarting up onto the high ground. Willow joins her. Kakachao just trying to make space for his lonely vertical DPS to be able to go to work. We saw how effective Willow was when she got to her spot before on the objective fight. Let's see if she can do it again here behind Inara.
I was a little timid about the ult uses that have been coming out from Despacito 2. It seems like they've been trying to hit the gas pedal, but haven't really been able to move that far forward. They've been stuck in traffic the entire time they've been trying to go. And it's still not going to end up working out for him. But, I mean, Ying was the one I was thinking of. I was like, that seems a little aggressive. It didn't seem necessary at the time. But she's already at 100%. She has her ult back.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to gas pedal with because Ying ultimate charges very quickly. Ying does good damage for a support. When she can get in there, she's got a lot of ability to poke. Her range was not so long ago increased by a very, very low. I think it was like tripled or something like that when you look at the numbers. So Zambi is going to be getting a lot of ultimates, as well as, you know, when you look at the throughput and the cooldown reduction that Ying is able to get just at base with her loadout Gormizer, she doesn't need to build into Chronos like a lot of other supports do. She has room to go to Morale Boost.
And that, I think, has opened up for a lot of some of the, like Furia as well, where you can come through. If it's an ult that's going to be a little bit more team-based, it's going to be more worthwhile to have it up a little bit more often. And if your heal's on such a low cooldown, you don't really need to worry about it.
Coming up over the top here with the Accursed Arm. Has a good angle on Barrick, connecting 2 of those blasts. Hits Willow mid-air. Good God, Purple Sherbert. He's just gotten better and better with every round.
Being able to find that, I mean, that was immediately the round that Trident needed to be able to open up that point. Being 1-1, they're not going to have a comeback mechanic, but, I mean, they burn 2 ults with that, and they keep all of Despacito 2 locked in their base.
Can we look at the talents just real quick? I want to see, I think Purple Sherbert must be running Godslayer, or, God forbid, the Punch Legendary. It is Godslayer there, Purple Sherbert. An easy giveaway is, you know, when they only have 6 ammo versus 8, they're not running Heads Will Roll, which is the most common legendary. I'm still holding my breath for one of the Punch legendaries to come through one of these days.
Someone's going to try it. They're going to go box Androxus and just do whatever they can. Right now, though, no one's looking at him. I think that's kind of been the saving grace. Whenever you're not getting looked at as Androxus, you have a little bit more room to work with. Unfortunately, it seems like the rest of your team hasn't had any space.
And that's the thing about Ying there. I think good Ying players will use her movement skill. Her movement skill is probably one of the highest kind of like skill capabilities in the game. Just because you completely disappear. And there's no indication of where you went
you're just gone.
or even which way you went from where you were. So a good Ying player can be gone in an instant and you will just be at a loss and have no idea where she went.
Especially in that kind of scenario as well. You're the last player left alive on your team. There's nothing but front lines to your right, and it's going to be devastating if you try to fight into them. You have to kind of move away from that area. Unfortunately, you dash in as Androxus, so you don't have too much to get away. And now, even though Trident had a really good start to that round, not only do they lose the point, but it's slowly but surely starting to chunk around at them. Like, you can feel the wear and tear from Despacito 2 just hitting them.
Second illusory rift this round for this Ying. This allows her team to, you know, just spread out and I think be more aggressive. She's got it up all the time. Markism's trying to hold down the high ground here. This was really the big roadblock that Despacito 2 ran into last round.
I don't know if that dome shield was done on purpose for what it did, but it stopped that seedling from getting up in that room. It wouldn't have connected with anybody since the dash came through immediately after, but just being able to block certain things with the shield is like, I don't think you meant to do that, but that was really classy.
But nice. Purple Sherbird, he finds a kill in the backline. Daddy DLS will as well. That's a 1200 damage reversal. Connecting up and over the top now. Inara likely next on the docket, but Androxus so squishy. Can't afford to be too aggressive for too long. Sherbert being pretty careful with how he approaches these fights. Can we take a look at the loadout here for Mr. Androxus? Because it didn't look like he was running a full reset. He's actually, yeah, only running 80% on his Power of the Abyss, so when he hits his reversals, he'll get most of his cooldown reduction of his dashes back.
And being able to go, he has the distance as well on that, just to make sure that he is going to get in, get out. So I want to say it's a little bit more Hitman kind of esque. Like, I'm going to go in, this is my target, this is who I'm going for, I'm going to kill him off, and then I'm going to get out of there as fast as I possibly can to make sure I can stay safe. Like you said, he's squishy, so it's going to be dangerous, especially if you have someone like Shaolin on the other side, who has kind of fallen off in terms of play.
Definitely has, goes into the planet, but right back out of it. He wasn't really the focus of anyone's attention there. Pops his Heat Haze, puts a couple of good arrows into Victor just to dissuade him, and the Illusory Rift will come through for a third time this round.
Being able to go, I'm still believing it's morale boost too as well, so that Ying as just healing out the roof, but that's going to be kills and kills and kills here for Despacito 2. You lose Shaolin though, but you're still rolling. Only Maldamba's up right now. The payload's moving in. They have to dash on it.
Wow, that's a really critical moment there for Despacito 2. Despite losing Shaolin, that was the turning point there, but it was already too far gone. The round simply couldn't have been turned around any more than that. Good damage coming out here from the Victor, and like you mentioned, those grenade reset cards still very critical to a Victor player. Top damage here by a decent margin, and that's not uncommon, right? You've got such long distance pokes, so consistent for Shakespeare, and Shakespeare, he's a hell of a player.
And I'm kind of curious, you know, people like Shakespeare that are still running Shrapnel, or even the people that are starting to try and pick up Burst Mode and see where it fits. I think it's going to be map-specific as well, so Frog Isle, maybe you're more likely to see Burst Mode. But I'm wondering if there's going to be, like, a specific Victor loadout that becomes a Burst Mode loadout versus a Shrapnel loadout, because otherwise you're still running a lot of these cards that are augmenting your grenade, which is nice, but when you lose that extra radius and that extra damage, it just doesn't quite feel the same.
Trying to just focus down some of these Ying clones there. Shakespeare eats 2 arrows from Planet, not making his life any easier. He's just trying to find a way to be effective. Has his barrage available, but again, Ying just blinks away from danger. Nice hook in. Is this the pick that's going to get everything started for Trident Esports as they fall apart? Willow with the triple kill. She comes up over the top and just absolutely decimates Trident Esports.
And now just watching where Willow is standing. I mean, this is the same place Mr. Flexi was standing pretty much the last time he was able to control the point for his team. At this point, with 3 points, 60%, it's going to be difficult for Trident Esports, but they do have comeback mechanic. All they need to do is push out Despacito 2, and they've been getting just enough team fights that they're still in this.
Barrage is going to come through, but again, Gormizer, no kills are found. Jaquib goes down under the dome shield. The turtle just gets roasted. Poor Purple Sherbert as well, left all on his own. Still connecting reversals, still looking good while he dies. I think that's been the theme of his game is, you know, he's connecting with his kit. He's doing a good job. But at the end of the day, just dying. Despacito 2, they take a 4-1 here on Serpent.
Ying, first pick and solo healer. absolutely
Yeah,
works
man.
now. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I think you get morale boost. I mean, those ults were game-changing to the point where it's just like, okay, even if I'm not able to get my illusions or I don't have line of sight on you so I can get any of my other healing, here's just a bunch to get you at least a full. If you take a little bit of damage, it's going to come right back because it lasts so long, and a lot of people don't think about the duration of Ying's ult.
Yeah, the duration's really big, and just the raw throughput that it provides. I believe
Yeah.
it's 600 HPS, which, when you compare it to Grover ult, it doesn't seem like a lot, or Furious
Still
Super Beam,
good
doesn't seem
chunk.
like a lot. But it's global, and it's a hot. It's not based on where the champions are in relation to Ying.
Yeah.
It's just applied all the time. And with that much throughput, unless you have Cauterize 3, you will not win that duel. If you Cauterize 2 a Ying ultimate, you're still not going to win that duel. There's still going to be 200 health per second. That's like almost an unmitigated Maldamba heal coming through to that target. You can't win 1v1s against that ult.
It's just one of those things that's similar to what we were talking about actually yesterday when we saw Furia Beam when it comes through. I mean, that was like, I think it's
I
like
didn't get to see that, man.
600.05 seconds. So over a second, you get 6,000 health dumped into this one spot. It is a lot of healing.
It's stupid.
You can't beat that
Yeah.
number. Like,
It's
take 40% off of that. It's still a lot of healing.
Even if you have a Cauterize 3 applied to that, it just turns into a Ying ultimate. And, we just had that conversation, right? It's funny. You can't fight through that amount of healing. You just can't.
If you death and taxes it, it goes down to 600 health a second. Still, like, it's still an obnoxious amount of healing.
You have to dead zone it. That's the only way to fight through that Furia talent. Frozen Guard. That's the first time that I'm seeing this map since the massive update to the game. We'll have to see if Ying goes first again. The pick order is switched this time, so Trident will be first. Despacito 2 will go second. Victor banned away. Despite they're running it and they're having success with it.
I think that's a kind of a showcase of where Victor is going to be strong again. This is another map that has some pretty good long lines of sight and really good spots for you to throw a grenade to bounce onto the point. Like, you don't have to be able to see the point to get that extra damage. This is actually one that I feel like burst mode is great for like the push or defending, whereas shrapnel is going to be perfect for the point capture, so you really have to balance those out. And of course, Torvald has just been ridiculous since people are looking at 5 seconds of just pure damage.
Yeah, and the Khan will come through first pick. It's allowed to squeak its way through. Cassie, did she get banned out last game? I can't remember.
I feel like she did. I think Leon is the odd one out
It's
here.
a little bit, yeah. You're right, Victor instead of Khan. That's I think the difference we're seeing here. But Trident, they'll get the King. They'll get Ying as well. And a Willow on Frozen Guard. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot harder to position your dead zone. And I'm kind of curious as to where Willow is going to try to take residence. Because there's a lot of spots on this map.
Where is her spot?
Yeah, like there's sniper area and there's flank area. And neither of those you want to be Willow in. You have to be careful as to where you're standing. And I'm wondering if that's like, they have the double support now. They have the Inara. I'm wondering if this is one of you keep track of this Willow and make sure she stays safe.
Makoa 10th pick. What a world we live in here. This is a very...
How the mighty have fallen.
Looking at the rest of this composition from Despacito 2 Goremizer, it feels like they first picked Willow so it wouldn't counter the rest of their composition. This feels like it's not picking Willow to be hyper successful. There is, a lot of hit scan. Victor's not banned away. Leon's banned away. Cassie's banned away. So there are a lot of her natural predators off the board, I will say. But I mean, do you agree looking at the rest of their composition?
I mean, it just kind of feels weird. Again, I'm wondering where Mr. Flexy's going to position himself, but also it is one of those, well, we want to run Grok, and if we want to run Grok, then we can't have Willow on the other side. Dead Zone just shuts down Healing Totem. It is the literal counter, so it's, you add one, you subtract one. Being able to grab that, I think, comes in
Is that Scorched Earth for Willow? I think that is.
Nightshade.
No, it's Nightshade.
Let the battle begin.
Not another Willow icons, apparently. Purple Sherbert.
I only ever read the deals damage, and then I'm like, that one.
Good. Damage. Good. So CC immunity, bonus damage. It looks like for the firing line. Khan here, but a lot of pressure taken out of the gate. Bomb King and Khan, they do not get to any type of good position here. Mr. Flexy very aggressive with his.
And I'm wondering if this is going to be the kind of play they go. So Liz, like, as you see, what you mentioned last game, Ying just disappears. Unfortunately, when you have illusions up, you pretty much go to one of them, and I think the rest of the team was waiting for it. Mr. Flexy has decided there is no single position. There is no single spot here for the Willow. Every spot is Willow's spot. He's just getting aggressive and in their face.
Objective captured in 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's got to be pretty damn close to mathematically as fast as possible. Now, what did you see? What went so right for Despacito 2 that time?
I think a lot of it was just getting rid of Lizlak at the beginning. And, having first blood on the healer when it's their only support, even if the rest of them have stuff to keep them controlled, it's going to do a lot. And the other big one was Khan at the very beginning. I was laughing because of his voice pack, but he got really, really low health before he could even get to the point. He just got burst.
Bomb King as well, and then you saw later on in that fight, albeit way too later on in that fight, Bomb King and Khan rotated in basically by themselves and just got steamrolled. So it was effectively a 5v3 and then a 5v2. Despacito never moved off the objective, and they are in control of this game as a result. 2 minutes 25 on the game clock, 1 minute and 30 seconds left in this round for the payload to be pushed. But Despacito 2 right now have hit a bit of a snag, a speed bump, if you will, as Trident Esports have got their footing under them, can fight 5v5 for the first time this game, and they're putting up a bit more of an exchange for it.
And I think a lot of their control on the point reflects well in a team fight around an objective like that. When there's a stationary point where we are fighting. We know the map really well. There's a lot of walls. Willow can stay safe. Grok can stay safe. Now I think you're going to have to rely a lot heavier on the fact that Grok needs to output that damage. Like, he has to be hitting just as hard, if not harder, than Willow to make this work, because otherwise you're lacking what you need for the push.
48 seconds now for that push to happen. The Ancient Rage comes through, trying to just beat Khan backwards. Nice lockdown there on the Ashe as well. Didn't even need to use the wall. And just kills keep coming through for Despacito 2. I cry because I'm sad. Leading the charge here on Inara. Hooked off the high ground, forcing the Billow out as well. Good things. No! Zin missteps and falls back down onto the low ground. And Jay Quib, costly mistake there.
Being able to come through, they're actually looking for this last archway. This is probably the most difficult archway to get through on this map. And with Daddy DLS throwing down that immunity for his ult, it's going to be big for him. Shakespeare's getting aggressive, but I think he might go too far. Gets a kill, but I mean, you only take out one of the two healers.
Oh my goodness gracious. And now look back on the objective. Zin's here, Khan's here, Ashe is here. But there's a Willow bearing down on all of them. Thankfully, Purple Sherbet's able to cut that short. The kill feed, it's red, then it's blue, then it's red again, then it's blue again. These kills are going every which way, but that's going to be in favor of the defense. The respawn proximity, look at all of these blue players just filing back into this team fight, and red simply cannot reinforce fast enough. Trident Esports will stabilize and hold the defense.
For a long time, Inara can sit still and say, I don't need any healing, I've got damage reduction. But eventually it starts to fade away. And usually it's as the numbers start going less in favor. You have Ashe and Khan, you shrug it off. Then you start adding Bomb King. Then you add Zen. That damage you can't just shrug off anymore. But I will say, whether or not Despacito 2 get the push, they at least, I want to say, get the name award today. Because Despacito 2 is great, but they also have I Cry Because I'm Sad, and those together is like perfect.
I cry because, Despacito 2 isn't a thing in the mainstream yet.
One day it will be.
Maybe one day. Healing?
Despacito 2, Despacito harder.
Healing basically equalized between these two teams. And Nara actually in second place. And just off first by a small margin, led by Grok currently. It's interesting to see, and with all these Ying clones, it's a guaranteed bounce target for Grok's Maelstrom. Shock Pulses. Willow's going to go up into the sky. Early control of the objective. It's not clear which way it's gone.
Being able to get one kill right there onto the Inara is going to set things up, but now your Blaster's looking low. Mr. Flexi going to be able to get rid of the Bomb King, and now Lizlak, if anyone had noticed him, is wide open and left on his own. Instead, the aggression's going to turn towards the point. Despacito 2, even though I want to say that fight didn't start out really in their favor, they turn it into 4 kills and 63%.
I think that Dread Serpent that hits, I believe, 3 people is really the turning point there for Zambi. He puts his foot down and says, this is our point still. For now and for always, 96% and climbing. The tanks are zoning out. Makova's got a Grok backing him up. It's locked down. No way anyone from Trident Esports is getting back in there. Another Ying ultimate's going to come through. But Despacito 2 aren't really even in a position to fight. No one really needed that healing.
And Despacito 2 are in this point where they don't even care too much, really, about pushes. But I think the pushes are kind of icing on top of the cake, right? They're winning so handedly in these point fights that it's weird to think of anything going wrong. That's going to be a nice heal coming through.
The hook. Just the hot hand snag out of the assert dominance there. Ashe thought she was going to be safe.
Oof.
But alas, she was not. Fighting on top of the gourd, not super difficult to do for the Bomb King, especially when Shakespeare connects two back-to-back sticky bombs. 140 now on the clock for Trident Esports to hold this defense. The same for Despacito 2 to try and get this one pushed through. But you're right. Icing on top of the cake. Maybe a good way to put it, but they have definitely struggled. Got close in round number 1, but so far they're getting stuffed in round 2.
And I think this is the strength more of Trident, less of the strengths of Despacito, because again, their composition to me doesn't scream push comp. It just screams point composition. A lot of control there, a lot of healing, and a lot of just sustainability in terms of their front line. Versus when it comes down to trying to push it, you need to get more kills, you need that damage, you need to be constantly pushing back Trident. And the only time they keep getting pushed back is when moments like that happen. You get a little bit too aggressive and end up getting caught out. You lose 1 member, 2 members, now looking to be 3 and 4 as things just keep rolling for Despacito.
There it is. Despacito 2. I love it. The gore flavor, bringing it in here. Despacito 2 finally get their legs under them. They start their iron march towards the objective. They have a long way to go, though. Only 33 seconds on the clock, or in regulation, I should say, to do it. Overtime is the likely outcome here for the boys in red. Koa playing this little stack of ice cubes nicely. And that was the theme of a lot of the changes for Frozen Guard recently, was just a beautiful hook there. Hold that thought. The Grumpy Bomb to stun him out, but the Bomb King is just out of position now. What can they do with this?
Trying to figure out a way around it.
And another Ying ultimate.
Just stuck in this position. The healing's going to be good there for Trident. I think that might be what shuts it off. You don't really want to use an ult here for Despacito 2.
Yeah.
And you're also in this position. I mean, you don't have Ancient Rage. Makoa's not going to do too much in terms of pushing power.
No, and it's just that Ying, the early game Ying ultimates, for players that know and respect that ability, it's a brick wall, basically. Unless you have 5 people staring at one person with a little bit of anti-heal online, you just can't do anything. 1v1, forget about it. You know, it's disheartening, it's deflating for Despacito 2. It's an ultimate at the end of the day, yes, but it charges so quickly. We've seen it all set long, how effective that ultimate can be. Lilac, he's already at morale boost 3. The rest of the ultimates are basically up and available for Trident Esports. So if there's one ultimate you would like to spend to brick wall the opposition, it is the Illusory Rift. Because not only is it going to be up super, super quickly, but there's nothing that Despacito 2 could have done about that. There's no outplay there.
Timer, I'm going to say 9:30, and I'm going to say 9:45. That ult's going to be there already. Like in the next 15 seconds, I just feel like it's going to get charged up. Unless Lizak dies, in which case that will change all of the math on it.
Well, Lilac
I am
gets
wrong.
the first frag of the round, actually. 36% for Despacito 2, and Nara struggling on the objective. There's no one for her to heal. There's no damage being done rarely to Trident Esports, because they just steamroll over Despacito 2 for the first time this round. They use almost all their ultimates. Despacito 2 use almost none of their ultimates.
Being able to hold on to it, maybe even just
Can
for
they
a
get
little
back in
bit. That's
time?
going to be 54, 57. This is a harder map to get back on, but Despacito 2 have the technology. They have what they need in their arsenal
And it's
right
a
now.
flying
And they're going to be
Gurk.
able to go for it. Up into the air he goes. But is it going to be enough to open this up? I think he's up there with Willow.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Just
The
hanging
fun
out.
Grok will have the shock pulses continue to land for Despacito 2. A lot of good damage going out right now from this Grok player. Not only does he spearhead the charge, he gets his boys to where they need to be to succeed. Mr. Flexi picks up 3, and just like that, Despacito 2 bring it back.
A little bit closer, I think, than they would want to, and a lot closer than any of the other points. That is the first time that Trident Esports has been able to get pretty much any percentage on top of that. And they get 96, but then it gets stalled out. And that is the, I want to say, the combination I expected to see with a Grok ult, but not the way I expected it. I wanted to see Grok go up and kill Willow.
I love how right
But
as
they
you
just
said,
hugged each other.
Right as you said, they have the technology. Grok just starts flying away. He says, technology, what? And he just uses his magical blue orc powers to get himself in a spot to succeed. And Nara, despite being incredibly low HP, selflessly throws herself in between the Bomb King and her Grok to make sure that she is safe. A very queenly type of maneuver there. Truly one that cares for her people.
Here's the question. Is like throwing yourself on the grenade still as like an admirable quality when you know you have 2 healers
When
right
you don't
behind
take
you
any
that are,
damage,
that are
yeah.
gonna just pull you all the
When
way
the
back
grenade
up to
is
full.
in a Grok Totem as well. She's getting healed from the Maldamba Bending Spirits as well as the healing totem. Overpower comes through, but Mr. Flexi kills the Xin before anything can be really done. Khan is almost going to lose his life for having to stand still with Makoa so long.
Being able to push in, I mean, they are just a few seconds away potentially from ending this, but right now Shakespeare, I was going to put a lot of weight on him. Mr. Flexi
That's it.
on Willow has been ridiculous.
Oh, there it is, though. Wait. Holding everything up, Ashe is going to assert her dominance. Damage immunity for the next 8 seconds if she can stay within the confines of her flag. The wall goes up. The Maldamba Dread Serpent is there. One will fall. Xin will billow. Everyone's walled off, but they have to run straight into the seismic crash. Can they burn the Bomb King down before King Bomb? They can. The Ancient Rage is going to now take up the burden. And with that final ultimate, Despacito 2 is able to take the second victory in the second map for their set win.
I want to say there were 2 things that were working to their advantage there. One is that Marcus, I think, was kind of like an unsung damage. People weren't necessarily looking at him because Grok is just Grok, right? But he's actually getting a lot of numbers out there, especially
he was
with that
leading
trace.
after the first round.
And then you have Mr. Flexi, who's just not being looked at half the time as Willow. If they do look at him, he just dashes around a corner, and all of a sudden you can't focus him anymore.
You know, you've got Willow, who, because there was so much control from her team going on, I feel like that trend from the first round probably just continued. Grok, he's always got a Yin clone to bounce off of. Inara, because she's got so much healing, can always be involved in the fight. And because Inara's always involved in the fight, there's so much space for this Willow to go to work, right?
And it feels like Despacito 2 at this point have done kind of what we were talking about like on Monday before the console league even started, where it's just looking at what changes have happened in 1.4, what's going to be strong, and then what can counter what's going to be strong so that you know that. You're looking at, okay, well, Ying's going pretty high up, at least in OCE as of right now.
Yeah.
Grok's going to be great against that, and be the way things have changed for him, that's going to give him that extra damage.
You change one thing in a game like Paladins, and it just has this ripple effect that you don't really know when it could stop. Guys, let's head to the schedule. That's our first set of the day. We've got a lot of action on the docket for you, though. We will have one more Oceanic matchup for you. The boys themselves, Kenga Esports, will be going up against Pantheon, and then basically right after that, North America will square off as well. I don't recognize any of those team names, but I would bet that I know most of the players.
Yeah, I like that one name is just B, though. Like,
B. What up, B?
In CIS,
is it
you get
supposed to be
B5,
that, like, that emoji
but here
B?
you just get B.
That, like, emoji B? You know the one I'm talking about? Like the red B? People just, like, put it anywhere. Oh, it's pronounced bus. Excuse me. Absolutely unforgivable mistake there we've just made. Got to give them respect where it's due, though, guys. We're just going to roll right into this one. Kenga Esports versus Pantheon. North America tends to be one of the most competitive, compelling regions to watch in the global series, so I highly recommend you stick around all day and watch that, after which I'll be headed over to Realm Royale to do a little bit of squad tournament action. We got a lot of stuff happening here at Skillshot Media for the day.
If the teams can time it right, it might be like that perfect time where it's, you literally don't have any downtime, where it's just like game or like set squads.
I don't know. It's gonna be close.
You never know. They're gonna cut it close.
That's a lot of casting for me, though.
It's
11-4 on camera, locked in. I have to pee.
You don't get any time, or we'll have like a lobby crash or something will happen. Something will go wrong. And that'll give you like 3 minutes.
I just need to install a catheter to really take my casting to the next level.
The next level.
Just
that
be
is
on camera all day.
I guess when you've decided, like, that is the serious step. That is when you know, like, this guy will do his job no matter what.
This guy does not mess around. And we've actually got a Timber Mill ban? Question mark in the chat. Kenga, they've got first pick, first ban. Pantheon Esports, they'll be up second. Our first map will be Bright Marsh. And I believe Serpent Beach was our other ban that I did see. Khan, get him out of here. Pantheon, it'll go to you. And they take the Drogos off.
I'm kind of curious which team, at this point, Pantheon, are they going to go for the Torvald? They're not. So he's open. He's available. And it's one of those things, again, the damage output that he's been having when it comes to just enabling flanks. Like, take what it was before he fell out of meta and augment that to be even better.
But the deep claims you, Pantheon lock in. Makoa, who was going 7th, was going 10th last set. And that's a strange world that we live in. This is a very different set. This is a very different team that Pantheon have to approach, and Kenga, same as them. I will say, though, Leon was incredible for Kenga Esports on Bright Marsh at this past event. Willow was banned out, and that's really who Ninim had it out for, right? He didn't miss a single ultimate. He just completely decimated the enemy Willow every single time they met on this map. So I'm looking out, for Ninum to go in on this Leon. For Torvald, I don't know who's going to play it. Probably Joel, I would imagine. But there has to be a lot of synergy built there.
And I'm kind of curious as well, because both of the things that come to my mind as, okay, well, we need to pick up Leon to counter X, Y, Z. The two things that come to mind immediately are Drogos or Willow. Both of those are banned out. So I'm curious as to where this fight's going to go, because a boxing match with Victor, depending on burst mode or shrapnel, is going to go your way or it's going to go downhill fast.
I think it's about winning the 1v1s in the back line here. Kanga have drafted a pretty fragile DPS lineup with Androxus and Leon, but Torvald, he covers that, right? He covers that. He makes that not a thing anymore. Androxus can dive head over heels. When you have a Ying ultimate as well, you can coordinate that. We saw that last game even. Shakespeare, he's flying up over the top of his gate on defense, right? He's diving deep in enemy territory, and I'm like, that's a ballsy move. But then I saw he had Ying ultimate. I'm like, all right, that's a little bit less so. You can kind of do whatever you want when you've got a Ying ult attached.
It's enough healing in the world that, like you said earlier, it's global, so you don't even have to worry about your proximity to Ying, line of sight, any of that stuff that you have to worry about with other heals. You can just charge in. And most of the time, like we had mentioned earlier, Cauterize, unless it's level 3 and you have like 2 people looking at him, it's still not going to be enough.
And most people buy Rejuvenates.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with Ying ultimates, it's 60 health per second.
Jeez.
Every single tier of Rejuvenate that you buy, so it's really, really useful. And the cool thing about Ying is that ultimate opens up her movement ability to be even better. It allows her to teleport not only to clones, but to every one of her allies as well.
I'm kind of curious as to what Chronix is running, because he did go for the Chronos, so he might not be as focused into the cooldown for his loadout as far as, the way Brittle goes, other cards like that, but still going to be able to get a lot of healing. That does at least let your illusions come up a little bit more, and he does have Brittle 5, but this is going to allow illusions to come up a lot more often. He's never going to be in a spot where he feels like he can't place one.
Ninum on the Androxus, Corlin on the Leon, and it's Chronix on the support. Fully spec'd into Brittle. Brittle 5 here, 3.5 seconds off the Shatter cooldown. And just a little bit of a roster shuffling for Kanga Esports. That's been their story this whole year. They've been losing veteran player after veteran player, and it's always the guy that was leading that team, right? It was leading the drafting, maybe scheduling scrims, all that captain-y type of duties, right? And now I think it's Chronix stepping up, doing a lot of that work for his squad. And support we've seen in the past has been a very natural position for people to lead from.
And it's just one of those areas where, front lines, you typically see what the opponent is doing. You see all their positioning, but when you're playing support for a team, you get the vision on the entire battlefield. You're usually sitting in the back, you're in a safe spot, and that's why you get to see them make the calls, those shots, because they can kind of look at it pretty much like a chessboard.
Let's take a look at the loadout here for back on Torvald. I want to see just what kind of stuff. There's stuff like movement speed. There's stuff like cooldown of protection. Wind Dancer 5 as well. Joel is slapping these bubbles on Ninum.
Get the hell in
and
there.
That boy's off to the races. It is the proverbial coach slap on the buttocks to one of his players as he sends him in the game, because that is a hell of a lot of movement speed.
I mean, 50% movement, you throw that onto Androxus, who's a flank, already relatively fast, has 3 dashes to get in. And assuming Androxus might be running some movement speed after the dashes, because we've seen that be in some loadouts, then you are just zooming.
Yeah.
Like, you are an actual train on the map.
You're going to maintain most of your momentum coming off of your dashes. He's got elusive
30% movement speed.
Yeah, most of that is going to be diminished, DR'd out, but it's still something,
funny.
and it's still, he's carrying that into his drifting. So he'll dash, and if you have the bubble pre-dash, you'll carry that momentum into your drift, and you'll be able to cover that much more ground with it. Now, Pantheon, not able to get a lot done there, not able to get a lot of items online. Rejuvenate 1 was purchased, and that's basically it.
A lot in terms of economy makes a big difference. I mean, it's only been 3 minutes in this game. You didn't capture a single point. You haven't had the opportunity to get any credits on the side of Pantheon, whereas 300 was given to King.
Oh my goodness, and the King Bomb. Torvald makes it like it never even happened. The Ying ultimate tops him right back up. Ninum can do no wrong right now. He's got to hit his shots, but he simply can't be brought down. One quick headshot, 1040 to Bomb King's head. A couple more to the back line. Corlin finds 3, and Kanga Esports curb stop Pantheon in that team fight.
And it's one of those things, even though they have been constantly shifting players throughout the year, either losing someone or picking up someone who's fresh, it's gotten to the point where Kanga has done it in such a perfect pattern where if you bring in 2 new people, you have 3 veterans to be able to train those 2. They get to go to a LAN. Those 2 become veterans. Then you lose 1 more, 2 more people. You bring in 2 new people. Those 2 get trained by the other veterans, and then all of a sudden you get to go to LAN. You get that experience again. I feel like Kanga is in that position where even though it's not been the most favorable roster swaps, every single step still hasn't been a step back. They've just been able to maintain.
And so I wonder now if Corlin is main roster, because I know Corlin was, I believe, their sub at the last event. With Nudie not playing today, I don't know if this is a roster swap permanent or a subbing in type of thing, but Corlin, a veteran in his own right of the scene. Not necessarily under the banner of Kanga Esports for his full stint in OCE Paladins, but he has played, coached, done a lot of work with the OCE scene.
Being able to get at least a little bit rolling for him. I mean, Pantheon, I've seen so many things that have been very well timed, very well placed, but I feel like Kanga is just a step ahead of them the entire time. I mean, you can't really do much with Ying, Androxus, Torvald on the other side. There's so much control. You have to kill Anara as well. Like, there's no stopping this kind of composition.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy to watch. Torvald, again, it's Kanga, right? But Torvald as well, making it through for the first time today. He has a lot to do with that, I think.
Yes.
Just the level of coordination and the fact that Kanga have played in a meta where Torvald has been a big staple before allows, and Joel specifically, this tank player for Kanga has, played around Torvald a lot. He's played a lot of big, high-pressure games on that champion, so he's going to know exactly what to do with it.
I'm going to call it next game I expect Torvald to be banned away, because it's just one of those things that even if Kanga has other strong picks, enabling those strong picks is really, I think, what gives them that leg up. I mean, that was one of the quickest games I've seen in a long time, and that's saying something because we have seen some stomps from teams that are at the top versus teams at the bottom. That was just clean cut.
I mean, you saw it was really defined, I think, by that play from Ninim there. He comes around the corner with his cursed arm, hits a couple shots on the Barrack, but whatever. And then Barrack and a King Bomb come through the door. He's fine. He just gets bubbled, and then Ying ultimated back up, and then just continues to walk forward. You can't do that type of stuff on Androxus. You make 10% of the missteps, I'll put in air quotes, that Ninim made last game on Androxus without a Torvald, and you're just feeding the whole game. You're not getting anything done.
I mean, that exact scenario, you don't have Torvald, you don't have Ying, or even if you have Ying, you miss those shots, that damage comes in, it doesn't matter, that healing is not going to be there in time, and you're going to get shut down. And it's just one of those moments that the shield comes through, like you said, bursts him up, even if you burst him back down with Ying healing coming through, like the throughput, everything about that was just keep them alive as long as possible.
It feels like you can't make any mistakes. You can't make a mistake big enough to actually
I could shoot
die.
6 bullets around your body, outline it, reload, and then still be able to come through.
He kind of did. I was like, Ninim can do no wrong, but he just still got to hit his shots.
Bang, bang.
Still got to hit shots to get kills, but he couldn't be brought down, and that's, it's such a fragile champion.
I don't think Pantheon got the memo.
No, it doesn't appear so. Torvald scooped. Arguably stronger on Frog Isle than most other maps, because everything he does on every other map works just as good on Frog Isle, but his ultimate is lethal 80% of the time on this map.
I feel like Leon and Ying are going to be helpful here. Leon specifically to try and pop the bubble a little quicker, but again, you're looking at effects that sometimes I don't know how it is working right now, but sometimes effects from Torvald last if the bubble's there or not. Sometimes they keep going. There's a point where, like, even if you pop the bubble, there was some CC immunity drag over.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's you pop the bubble and
all
it disappears.
That has been fixed, so
it
you
should
had
disappear
things,
when
you
the
had
bubble's
things like
gone.
CC immunity, bonus damage that were applied for 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how long the bubble lasts. Even if the bubble killed, the buff would remain. That's not the case anymore. You kill it, the CC immunity goes away. You kill it, the bonus damage goes away. But, it's a very healthy bubble. It's tough to just plow through 2,000 damage like it's nothing unless you're picking up Wrecker, which I will say Pantheon has the ability to do. You've got Death and Taxes, and you've got, your anti-heal and your Blast Shot for Cassie, right? So that's 2 inbuilt anti-heals. You can just build Wrecker outside of that. You don't need Cauterize on top of that.
And the glory about Wrecker is, it stacks up quick, just with the way things go. Compared to other cards, when you look at, like, Rejuvenate, you look at Cauterize, you look at Haven, like, it's very small percentages that you feel the impact when they're tier 3, but when it's tier 1, it's just kind of like, I know it's only affecting a little bit. Whereas Wrecker to me, even tier 1, I mean, that's 75%
Even tier one,
immediately.
yeah.
Like, it's just a lot more damage that
I
you're going to be
agree.
able to deal to that shield. And then you just keep pushing it forward and forward and forward. But now looking at it, the team names were actually swapped. So that was
Right.
Kenga who was actually first pick back.
So it was Kanga that was banning out the snipers, first picking Makoa, and it was Pantheon.
Oh, no. Torvald was first pick, but Kenga didn't care. I think the
Makoa, I believe, was
swaps.
first pick.
Yeah, but I think it was like,
They let Torvald go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Pantheon. Essentially, I think is what happened there. The salvo is ripped across the map. Doesn't find much. Won't even slay the Ying clone there. And the combustible knockback, not enough to move Cassie off of the map, but puts a healthy amount of damage into her. Joel falling lower and lower here, feeling the heat from the dragon.
being able to find a few shots. Corlin gets first blood. Trades his life for it, though. It's going to cause a little bit of trouble overall, but Ninum has just been kind of patiently playing that corner around the statue, dancing around with Makoa. Joel's down there. But the big thing is they just sit on the point.
Yeah, and the thing about it is Pantheon have Torvald, yes, but who's diving? Who are they bubbling? Who is getting aggressive here? It can be Drogos. It wasn't Drogos in that fight. It could be, and I think they need to elect somebody to get aggressive with Death's Pick, because that's what it enables. It enables you to just be a complete idiot, run around the map and do whatever you want, and not die for it.
Baboon, unfortunately, going to get caught out right there. And again, like you said, you don't have to worry about too much right here. And the way Kenga are playing it, it's one of those interesting things. And I think this is going to show the difference of where a champion falls in priority versus how well the team can play it. Because Torvald was pretty much the enabler that entire last game. The reason Kenga, maybe not the reason they won, but something that made it so that acceleration, the reason the game was so quick, was because of that Torvald. Where now on the other side, you kind of don't even notice he's there.
Right, you know, you've got your, you can even pair him with an aggressive tank like an Asher, Fernando, or something. Something to cross the half-court line against Kanga Esports. The Dragon Punch is good. Again, I feel like Drogos is one of the better candidates for the protection bubbles. You've got the Dragon Punch as well, which moderately successful it will be once it's covered and defended. Barrett getting aggressive here as well. This looks like the first time Pantheon will able to slow down Kanga Esports in any capacity.
And that was one of those moments. I like the way Ninum played it up until he was peeking for a little bit too long. And a couple of shots missed, but just being able to recognize where Corlin is, where the healing needs to go, and where exactly you need to focus your little bit of extra damage to make sure that he doesn't fall in that small amount of time it takes to get the healing through. So being able to poke it out. But like you said, Pantheon have been able to come back a little bit stronger. And I feel like a lot of it has been on here with Drogos. A lot of the damage he's been putting out has been just enough to keep Kanga a little bit more timid about trying to just jump in.
Wow, but Corlin completely clips his wings as he just tries to navigate out of the fight. The grenades are lobbing in from long distance, but the front line for Pantheon just doesn't really have any control. There's nothing to really spearhead this charge to make space for Barrick to get set up. And that's my main problem. It's just really the draft for Pantheon. I don't like it.
Walking on in.
What's the win condition?
Yeah. Where I'm looking for Torvald, in my mind, I'm thinking flanks.
Overtime.
Who already have a relatively high mobility
I'm
when
thinking,
they're just running around.
I'm thinking, okay, you've picked this draft. Don't pick Combustible here.
Yeah.
Pick Fusillade.
Fusillade.
Use the movement speed to basically have Fusillade and Worm Jets at the same time, and just walk at people and left-click them for 1,100 damage a swing. Get in the back line, two-tap Ninum, you know, smack Joel's up a little bit. Be aggressive. Be a freaking ding-dong, because that's what Torvald lets you do.
And it's just in that area where, for me, the way they're playing the composition on the side of Pantheon, I can see where the bubble's going to be useful, but I just don't see it changing the impact of their playstyle right now. That's the big thing, is what your playstyle is like versus how it's going right now. You're getting aggressive. I mean, even if the bubble comes through, is it going to make a big difference? No, Drogo still dies.
Yeah, this Torvald's just been under distress the entire time. He's been hooked. He's been getting his face beat in by an anchor. And this is the Akuma Makoa skin. This is a vicious anchor, right? This might do 651 damage
With the cuddly cannon.
if I had my way, right? And then the cuddly cannon, right? Which is a damn shame, because the Akuma skin just as a whole, especially the cannon, is just sick.
It
like
looks
it
so
looks
good.
so good, so mean, So aggressive, but he goes for the cuddly cannon just for, I think, the irony of it.
And I'm not sure how it is on the receiving end as much, but I know at least being able to shoot it, it's very easy to trace those shots as Makoa.
Yeah?
From that one
With the
because
Akuma
they're a
cannon?
little bit, yeah, they're a little bit more like flamey, so you can kind of see the arc in my mind a little bit better. It might just be the feel of the gun overall for me, and I played a lot of Makoa, so
Yeah.
like after a while, you just know where that cannonball's going.
I think Makoa, both in terms of just like feels, usability, and overall effectiveness, probably has one of the best weapons in the game. I think Makoa weapon is absolutely incredible. I think it's so effective, so good, so cool. And you know, all the props to both the design team and the creators, the art squad that made Akuma Makoa a reality. All the skins from the most recent 1.4 patch have been absolutely incredible.
Chronic's going to go down there, and then I'm going to be able to trade it out. A lot of kills, I want to say, back and forth. Kinga, even though they got that last push, it doesn't feel like they're confident.
No,
in
they're
this
not
corner.
steamrolling like they were last game, for sure, but it's you know, the whole thing we're talking about, you know, someone needs to be getting aggressive with this Torvald.
Yeah.
When you're getting aggressive into Torvald, no one has to get aggressive. It's still hard to push into people that are getting bubbled like that,
Yeah.
right? That Drogos gets bailed out for a second, right? Ninim eventually will take him down. And there it is. Ninim weasels his way to the back line for a triple kill. Kanga Esports still have big ultimates left in the tank here. They have the Enlightenment, they have the Scout, and they're almost there on the Ancient Rage. Everyone's scouted out. Kanga knows every single angle Pantheon are taking to approach this fight. Drogos has already dropped out of the sky. Maldamba's already in the dirt. Torvald's not long for this world. Victor and Barrack will be able to find one. And that's like the first Hyper Beam we've seen this map.
Honestly, it might have been the
And I
first
don't
time he
think
was able to charge it up.
I don't think he got anything with it. Oh,
I mean,
the Shatter kill.
You're taking
Barrack is so slippery.
some long-range fights
Yeah.
against Leon Cassie. And it just, even if you have Victor, even if you go burst mode, like, I don't think your range is ever going to be enough that your damage, even if you're hitting headshots, is going to output what they are able to get, just chunking you down constantly.
It's been a lot of fun. OCE showing us a couple of new flavors. I think we're just going to get to see a whole bunch of new stuff this week. In general, the PGS is going to be the place to be. What you want to watch if you're a fan of Paladins Esports. Oceania's behind us, though. That's not going to do it for the rest of the day. We still have North America left in front of us. That region has always been very competitive, and I expect we'll see a couple of new tricks up their sleeves as well.
I'm excited to see Team Buh.
Team
And
Buh.
how they play. I want to know who's where exactly as the way things have fallen, because I think a lot of teams and a lot of players at this point coming into this split specifically have kind of jumbled up where they are. We saw it in console, we've seen it in the PGS, so I'm expecting a couple players to be comfortable where they are, and I'm excited to see, like, where's Toxicity, what was Toxicity, and like how are they playing now.
Like I said, I don't know any of the team names off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'll know most of the players once we get in there. Let's head to the standings, though, for the OCE as we're wrapped up for the day. Despacito 2 and Kanga Esports will claim victories in Week 1. Trident Esports and Pantheon will claim losses. North America, as you can see, all of these teams will be playing today. We'll have 2 more best-of-3s on the docket for you. And I wonder who will be coming out on top. My name is Pretty Hair. That's Score Miser. We're going to take a quick break while we get North America all queued up and ready for you guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Paladins Global Series. A little bit of a new face, a little shorter, a little tanner. My name's Evan Rainer, and of course, this is William Newberry the Fifth. Gormizer, how you doing today, man? Crack Oceania PGS there.
I'm feeling really good. I think Kenga has actually given me the fastest game I have seen. Because I was one of those, I didn't actually get to see the timer, so I asked about it afterwards. 5.5 minutes. I've never seen anything sub 6.
Sub 6 is actually pretty impressive.
It was kind of ridiculous.
Wow. Okay. Well, they're setting a trailblazing pace. And I think heading into North America, our question is going to be who's going to take that skip, that lead in one of the most, I think, privileged regions in Paladins, where there's so much competition and a lot of ways to get better. Let's take a look at the schedule for today and see what we've got going on. It's B, it's Hyso Florex, it's Big Egos, and it's Ferocity. And I'm sorry, it's pronounced
Ba, apparently.
Yeah,
we learned that the last time.
It's like the U, which is really the umlaut in German, so you have to pronounce it like ooh.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that was a fun one.
Really high class.
I took German, and it was one of those things where when you learn that, like the first few times that you're looking at it, you're like, no, that's a U. Like, you can't tell me
that's a U.
that the motion my mouth makes is like ooh. No.
Umlaut's a great sound, though. I do love that. We wouldn't have Uber; it would be Uber.
Yeah, and that's just not fun.
Just not as
or
cool.
Ubber.
Yeah, Ubber would not
like
be
rubber.
working. Yeah,
no,
Ubber.
It's just terrible.
Ubber
it's
would
like
not
flubber.
work as well. Let's take a look at the maps coming up here for set number 1, as we'll be broadcasting both today. So we're gonna get to see all these teams. Ba and Hyso Florex. Is that a chemical?
I tried to look it up because it sounds like it'd be something.
Chemical substance used for cleaning?
And the only thing I found was stuff about the Paladins Global Series team, Hyso Florex.
Already at the top of the SEO for that. Jaguar Falls will be map 1. Let's take a look at some of these bands coming through. I do have to say, I do like Hyso Florex's Samurai with the hat logo. I think this is a very, very cool color scheme. So
it's the fusion of
they got that right.
and the new Baldamba skin.
It's true.
Put them together.
Really, it's Susano. It's taken a little bit from
true,
there.
actually.
Yeah. Bomb King, Cassie taken, and Furia, and look at that. And Nara taken away, too. It's going to be a little bit of a battle for the best healer here, but we've seen Ying come into the fray today in a big way.
She was first pick earlier as well, so she's been doing a lot. The thing that actually interests me is that Khan, even though he's let through, is actually going above Torvald. Torvald not picked up at all just yet, which is one of the things that we have seen him have relatively big impact. We've seen what happens when he gets countered out, so you really have to kind of balance where you pick him up and if he's going to work for your team.
I mean, we've really seen Khan have dominating performances. I could see why people are picking him up at that level, and especially first pick as well. Just pairs so well with some of these other tanks, and with Anara being the only frontline band, that economy is still pretty rich in terms of you can pick one, save a few for the others. So each tank gets selected on one of these teams. The healers now coming through, Maldamba and Grover respectively for this squad, and it's a Vivian. Wow, a little surprising.
Are we watching console?
That's what I'm saying. It's a little surprising for
Paladins Global.
Paladins Console League.
You
sure?
Global.
The graphics sometimes, everybody's.
Well, I see 2 globals here, one down, one up. So.
See something global down there?
Well, right.
I don't know. I am wearing pants, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about that. But it is global in terms of its reach. I will say that. Terminus taken at the last part, and we got our front line set up, and Hyso Florex and Buff ready to go.
I'm very interested because I know some of these designs, some of the logos were, I think, with the teams, and a lot of them were created for the teams. And I'm kind of curious as to where
Hyso
a
Florex
name like Hyso Florex, you get a samurai, you get a dragon.
You get a samurai, you get a dragon. That's actually pretty hilarious.
That's going to be, Envy, El Zulu, Jalen Sanity. So you're going to recognize these people, most of them at least, 4 out of 5, as the previous Gangstars roster playing around here for Buh.
And this is a roster you do not want to mess with as well. Extremely talented. We've seen them at LAN several times. We've also had the privilege of seeing El Zulu, Envy, and a few of these guys. Amos is not on the team anymore, but just being able to play in the PPL for Splice in a moment. Moment passed, but Wow here looking to heal up. Nice find just to rotate towards the Vivian, and this is Zulu going to back off. He knows he's in trouble, but he can't get out of it. Stigma finds the first kill.
Actually, looking at the other side of the team, you're going to recognize, I mean, Ba has a lot of names, specifically from one roster, Wow, another really big name in North America. But I don't recognize Stigma specifically, but the other 4 members of Hyso Florex are people who have regularly been playing the BGS. And Ozone, ASDF Master, a lot of these players who have been sitting around at the top of the top with the longest time, and actually being able to beat out members of Ba in the past.
Kresnik on the con, giving him a little bit of flexibility as far as broaching the back line, and he does well with that. Ozone finding this new team, as you had mentioned, and Gennikins together going down single-handedly to the Primus of House Ico. 63% counting for Ba. Isoflorex looking to get back on the objective, but a lot easier said than done. Big heal, big CC immunities, bought at least a little bit of time in that commander's grab. I mean, just turns their attention for that much longer, and that's a guaranteed objective capture for
Being
Ba.
able to grab that, it's at least a little bit of time. Kresnik, I feel like, has been in that position of, so what if I go down? El Zulu, same thing happened earlier. Like, if I go down, it's not the end of the world.
Done my
as
job.
long as Envy, as well as Jalen Sanity, are having a little bit of room to make things work. And admittedly, being able to take this, I feel like this is something, like, when you see console guys play the way Vivian worked on this map, I think she's a great pickup for this team.
There really isn't a reason why, Vivian has not been played, other than the fact that her mobility is similar to Tyra's. And you look at the impact of her damage, you look at the impact of her presence when she gets those ultimates, and the vision that's now team-wide that got just naturally buffed when those changes came through to diminishing returns and some of the other systems. I think Vivian is really been shown to succeed enough, Gore, where teams are starting to get more comfortable, at least on certain maps, to be able to bring her out and utilize that incredible damage she packs.
Especially with the way things have been going in 1.4. I feel like right now is the best time to just pull out everybody.
Yeah.
If they have a spot anywhere, if they are someone that you haven't tried in a while, now's the best time to get a feel for where they work, where they might not work, just because of the way things have been changed. To the point where, I mean, Ying was first pick earlier. Grok has been played insanely well lately.
Oh yeah, and she pops the ultimate right there. Make sure she gets it. And those twin rockets are going to help to delete Stigma. He's just going to take it. If that reversal had come through him, he was prepared to absorb some of the damage because he knew just one more shot afterwards would put Stigma into the dust. Hyso Florex not starting off so well, but Ba looking beautiful with a 2-0 first round.
And I love having Vivian in the game because the one thing that is just utmost unique about her is the fact that her ult helps generate more ult charge. It's not a relatively quick charging ult. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you get that damage online, and it just stacks up.
And the thing is, it just is pervasive. We don't often talk about it, but it's one of the ultimates that really doesn't go away until the enemy team shoots those twin launchers that are aside her head, one over each shoulder. Wow leading the healing by just a narrow margin, about 700. As the Grover over the Maldamba. Khan getting in there because, he likes to get those heals off himself. And sometimes we'll apply that to his teammates. And that is really the value of a tank like Khan, the CC immunity, a firing line, but also just the battle shouts, innate 1,000 healing that you can augment up to, actually the innate, I believe 800 healing. You got me all the way up to 1,300.
I love the patience, again, coming out of Ba. It's just in that area where the same thing, the same strategy Hyso Florex is going for from the last round is not going to work again just because of that patience. Last time El Zulu gets caught out, he gets up like bursted almost to the point of death. Here, he still goes down low, but the rest of the team was waiting for it, and they are just patiently going for the damage. Even Terminus is looking pretty squishy.
And what's interesting is the ability to bring Wow into this squad is really seeming to open up Jalen Sanity's performance. I mean, this is a guy that we've seen on the healer role for a long time. And he would typically be playing a Grover any time, any place. Give this guy the tree and he will go ham. But Wow, really the main dedicated support for this squad, and it's working out very well for them. On a 6 streak is Jalen with the ultimate enlightenment still ready. He's going to go into it. Wow finds the kill, but he would have stayed alive regardless. It's time for a reanimate core, I think.
Going to be able to come through. It's actually going to get a little bit of damage spread around as well. And Envy going down, whether or not the turrets were still there, the Sentinels were still there, they are definitely gone now. And Ozone is just going in as hard as he can, but that's going to be a whirlwind that should allow the retreat to come through.
Oh, whoa, just anchor because he knew he was going down as well. Crescent coming back in, and that's one of the best counters. Because of the Fernando shield, because of the Terminus, the way that works, he's able to commander's grab through the power siphon and, of course, the shield from Fernando. 99% for Hyso Florex. That reanimate allowing Ozone to get the double kill seemed to be enough, especially with the comeback mechanic, to just turn it around and make sure this is still a game.
And it feels like it was just underestimated, right? It didn't look as though it was going to be this huge reanimate.
Right.
But all you need is a little bit of value to make it worthwhile. Outside of the fact that it's just going to be Terminus alive again.
Agreed.
You get a little bit of damage spread out. And if you hit just one person,
Yeah.
that makes it way more worthwhile for you. And it feels like we're kind of expecting something a little different from that. Maybe they didn't want that damage, or they didn't think it was going to come through.
I honestly think El Zulu just waited and used his shield there. I think that's why he stayed alive. But what happened is he lost his defensive mechanic, and Terminus was able to go ahead, ASDF Master, and continue to be effective. There was really El Zulu on the run at that point, and he couldn't throw the damage back, which is where we see Terminus after the reanimates die the most, when everyone can focus them down very quickly after they're stationary and momentarily vulnerable. El Zulu's shield looks to be going down soon. Toa can't hit that, and that would have made a big difference, wouldn't it?
So Florex, as of right now, have been able to get a really good distance, a minute and a half, and they're at the last bin of the map, at least as far as pushing that payload goes. But unfortunately, now you can see the stall starting to come out. This is not just a speed bump, it's a full stop sign.
It's a full stop sign.
With the way things have been going. A lot of damage, you lose both your front line. Stigma not even going to be able to dash out of that one to stay alive.
I'd be curious to take a look at what, when he comes back, Stigma is actually running for this Androxus, because we've seen Ozone have a affinity towards Androxus, and it is Abyssal Touch. It is this card that we've seen kind of jump up in terms of the value for people, and this is what I expected. A little bit less on Through the Warp, a little bit less on Elusive, actually probably where most people kept that, but the distance doesn't need to be as far, and going for something like Marksman instead of the traditional, get some ammo off of Reversal, get some ammo off of Nether Step, still a standard card, sleight of hand for Androxus since the very beginning of Paladins. But Abyssal Touch really priming itself as one of the premier cards, giving him instant resets on those dashes when he connects a very, very valuable punch.
And it's just one of those things that you take someone that was
dashes
relatively mobile, but you're looking at the mobility of Androxus skyrocketing now. You had a Torvald on the team, and he puts Wind Dancer on there. The guy is fast.
Yeah.
He is almost hard. Like, he's hard to take down out of the sky as is, but it becomes impossible to deal with him because he's just either behind you or he's back behind his team. Like, he's always going to be safer.
And we saw with Androxus, just to keep elaborating as this round seems to be closing to an end, Ozone going to try to touch, and if he can, that would be great for them, and they're going to really get the overtime. And Jalen Sanity helping to contribute to Toa, who will fall, and Ozone will fall as well. You can assume that this point will collapse now, unless some heroics come through from Sigma. They won't. But just to expand on this Androxus thing, Gormizer, I think really we're seeing his playstyle shift with this ability to instantly reset these dashes. With the punch range increase, he's being more of a pest. He's being much more of a patient pest rather than the all-in, get-in, reversal in your face, and just get back out. I think that people are realizing that the more I wait for my right opportunity, the more I play it safe, the more I have a chance to eventually snowball these fights like Androxus does so well.
And I feel like this goes for Androxus as well as a lot of other champions, specifically with 1.4 and the changes that came through.
Yeah.
A lot more talents have been opened. A lot more loadouts have been opened up to be more map specific. If you're going to Serpent Beach, maybe you want to run a different talent. Maybe you're going to run a slightly different loadout. Whereas Jaguar Falls, everyone's a little bit more closer. You know you can hit a couple punches there. It's going to be a little bit easier for you, so you can put more points into that. And I think that has just been a glory of this latest patch, has just been able to enable so much more.
And the difference in flexibility, right? But look at Jalen Sanity. Talk about patience. Misses the presence, but it doesn't matter. He gets every shot until then. Beautiful stuff from him. Take him off the support. Who knew? This man was clearly known for a Shaolin, but the Leon coming through big time. Ozone with the Ancient Rage, but the Anchor just can't find a foothold, and he falls as well to Kresnik, who gets the double. And Bah look ready to close this one out.
I love watching players like that just because of how you saw, like, when he does those peeks. Like, he's just doing quick peeks on the window to make sure, is anyone going to come through this doorway? Is anyone trying to sneak around the side? It doesn't really matter. He's tracing every movement that he needs just to make sure.
And he's not going to use it. I'm so surprised. Where's the overpower core? He may not need it. He has it just in case, but that's what you do the Commander's Grab for. He pops him out of the power siphon, and now Ozone is in trouble. He's going to throw him off the ledge, and he's going to send him back into the water. A rough couple of rounds for Ozone and the rest of ISO Florex, and that battle shout, the firing line, is going to call the troops to action, and overtime will end with Bah finding themselves a victory.
And just sitting there, just gradual chunks, toon, 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 with the way things have been going for it. And I think that's kind of been the strength of them. And they had 2 champions that do that. They had Khan, who's going to boost himself, and Leon, who at that point I feel like Jalen, like he's missing some shots, but not enough of them that it was making a big enough difference for the opposition to make a stride.
And that's where I want to get it clear for those who are watching. Jalen gets to the right spot. He affords himself 2-3 shots he could miss. He misses his presence. That's 800 damage. But because he's there and he's in such a good position, there's nothing that Drogos can do. Toa is basically just caught out, and that's what patience will do for you in this game. Positioning oftentimes seems like it's the hot aimers. I want to see the 360 spins, headshots. That's who I'm excited about. But really, positioning will get you in the door or in the right spot so much easier to be able to succeed rather than just taking your aim into the game and pressing W.
I will say, though, if we can get like a Globetrotters, like FaZe Clan, where it's just, we're going to do 360 no-scopes with Strix, even though the rifle, when you don't scope in, is just so ridiculously inaccurate. Like, once we get that level, that's the step I want to take. Like, that's our halftime show, right? We get to Worlds, and we're like, man, we got to take like a 15-minute break. You guys go up on stage.
I'm just trying to see who the clan would, like, what would it be? Like, you know,
how would you do it?
Like Flame Clan, I'm thinking, like Zen, the Flames, you know, and then Furia might be in there. I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Who can you style with the most?
I don't know.
You got to put them up against people that are just not that great, so that they have that extra ability to
Void
stop.
Clan could be a thing.
Void Clan would be pretty cool.
Void Clan sounds kind of dope, actually, because you got a lot of champions representing that. You're talking about Saris. You know, talking about maybe some other things. I'll leave it at that for right now. Great things coming in the world of Paladins. Ashe, Inara, and Androxus. First 3 picks, I think the Ashe surprises me the most here.
Honestly, being that high up as well is where it kind of catches me. It's not too outlandish to me right now to think, okay, you can pick Ashe, especially with the way her ult was changed. It's just a little bit further distance on the jump.
Yeah, she did get buff.
But I just don't see it being first pick potential, right? When it's like, okay, well, Furia was open, Cassie was open, Willow was open already.
Yeah.
You went for Ashe first. I'm not sure Hysoflorex is going to prioritize that.
Well, you know, you have to look at El Zulu, and you have to really look at his love for Ashe and the ability for him to stick with this champion again and again and again. And to me, this is a guy who's playing his style versus playing the meta specifically. And sometimes that's where we see metas adjust. When El Zulu, his time that he's put into the Ashe shows up here in Game 2, if they're able to win, people might start saying, hey, we need to revisit this.
And you also have to think of, I mean, at this point, the champion pool that's left for frontlines. You get rid of Fernando, Khan, Makoa. You have Torvald, I think, is the only one right now who is unpicked, which is still kind of surprising to me to see Ruckus over him, but still a lot of damage there for Hysoflorex. Some things that have worked, some things that haven't on their squad.
I'm really curious about the Victor. I just wonder how they're going to manage that. Because, you know, we've seen Burst Mode, we've also seen Shrapnel, but, you know, for Victor to be so highly picked on maps like Serpent Beach, you know, Ascension Peak, and just run Shrapnel, it does feel lackluster for me in terms of an option. But I'll let these pros decide with their play as to what's going to be lackluster, what's going to get the job done. And it is Shrapnel again for Stigma, at least for now.
This is something we had actually kind of mentioned earlier in OCE. And one of the things about it, and that came to my mind, is that a lot of the cards right now for Victor are still very much oriented around this grenade, very much oriented on Shrapnel enables them a lot more. You get more utility out of it because of that.
Couple switches there. Switch to Fortress Breaker at the very end for Kresnik. So he's actually running the bigger shield now, which stays a little bit more stationary. And he's just going to hold this upper ground, and that's why. I mean, he's going to be able to hold this upper ground, but it doesn't work that well. There's so many champions like Cassie, like Victor, who are good at breaking down shields very quickly. I mean, even Ruckus. And this flank right here, not going to work out. It will at least buy some time for Kresnik to find Gettikins, and I guess it does work out here.
Being able to find and just flank around. This is one of the big issues, I would say, that comes down with Victor. No matter which choice you truly make, you don't really have the same mobility as others. You do have a good dash. You can get around the map fast, but it's not going to get you instantly out of the action. You are going to slowly and gradually take all that damage no matter what. And even with Furia healing, you have to just rely so much on your damage dealers to make sure you start making those waves.
And that was a pretty bad zone by Stigma. Gets caught out. Sorry, not Stigma. He was playing the Androxus last game as well. But by the Andro coming through there was Jalen Sanity, who actually just gets stunned by the Pyre Strike and gets taken down. It will at least allow Hysoflorex to get back into the conversation, but Jalen Sanity already poked to below half health. Is going to gain a little bit more health through the dashes, but Thankfully, Bagel Wow is there for a heal, 96% and counting. ASDF Master back on the objective, and the Pyre Strike getting a ton of healing, but the Dead Zone shuts it all down. So Inara, thinking she's getting that 6,000 health a second, gets nothing, but it all buys time for Stigma, Ozone, and Toei to find kills before El Zulu gets a double himself.
And now El Zulu actually trying to dash away. He's getting low. He's getting taken down, but almost grabbed the point. They weren't even able to attain it. 99% for them. But they're going to have to take a small break and come back. The thing that worked so well, Envy popped his ult the minute he got it. It hit 100%, Willow goes up in the air. Dead Zone is the only ability that can truly deal with that Fury heal with how much it outputs.
True.
And that was perfect timing from him.
Oh, and this is really good from Ozone, but the problem is that Hexafire is so stationary. Stigma there right when he needed to be, and Ozone getting feared out thanks to Bagel Wow's Dread Serpent. It finds a kill. Jalen Sanity able to clean it up, but it's Toa and it's Ginnikins who show up for Isoflorex. They're not out of this one, not by a long shot. They take the first objective here in Serpent Beach.
And I want to say, but on this squad, honestly, have a lot more burst potential. But I think the big issue is not only, being able to eat a Hexafire, that has probably the biggest burst potential overall in the game, but the way that Isoflorex are playing this. It's very patient, very healing-oriented, focused on keeping everyone alive, and just the throughput damage that you're going to have over time as opposed to being able to get a big burst at the beginning. And I think that's where, right now, Victor Stigma has been playing.
I just hearken. Excuse me, I got caught in my words. Back to this conversation you had about the Willow and how important it is for this Solar Blessing Furia in terms of being countered. And Envy is going to be the keystone for this squad, I think. If he can get those dead zones in the right place, he's going to help to really offset what they're building for around this Furia. The problem is, Envy also wants to use these to find kills on the guys like Stigma, onto Toa. So he's going to have to manage, does this go for damage or does this go for utility? And at this point, he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't.
It's one of those few things about Willow that a lot of her damage just base in hands isn't going to be enough on its own to find a kill. You need that little bit of extra burst, and a lot of these pros, you've seen it a couple times, Envy doing it, but in past games where it's kind of like the 1-2. You hit them with the dead zone, it does a little bit of burst damage and the anti-heal, then you start popping them with your in hands. But if you use that, like you said, now all of a sudden it's out of there. You need that for your combo to be able to find these kills, but at the same time, if you use it, you stop finding kills.
And you know what? I love Nightshade. I love that aspect, but I think if he's going to realize he's caught in between, he may not be getting the best value out of this talent. I don't see why, there may not have been a conversation around going Blast Flower here. And say, Dead's on the point. Just do that and give yourself a chance to beat these flanks, deal with these guys with your own weapon shots. Otherwise, it's a compromise on both ends for us.
And honestly, I wouldn't even mind, again, looking at some of the other talents Willow has, loosening the fuse on Seedling is very, very helpful just in terms of the damage output. It's a relatively difficult ability to connect on.
15 seconds remaining.
But
Did he go to Blast Flower? Can we check this?
I saw 700 earlier.
I saw 800. He is. Okay, so we just walked through all of this
and it doesn't even
came
matter.
to the same conclusion he did.
But he did it a few minutes ago.
Everything we said about the dead zone is true. The truth is that he did go Blast Flower for the exact reason we were saying. There's no way for him to get the value out of Nightshade the way we would most likely see. And so Envy makes the very smart choice to say, let me just deal with the point, and then I'll also be able to use my weapon attacks to find the impact.
I think I'll personally change my critique from having to use Dead Zone for that extra burst to, well, now you have the burst from your in-hands, but you're throwing out Dead Zone as you would normally, like kind of reflexes. You're just saying, okay, normally I go for this 1-2 shot. Yes, it does the anti-heal, but I feel like it's been thrown out a little bit more often, just kind of in a 1v1 that it's not focused on the healing. It's not focused on the point. Sometimes it has been exactly where it needs to be, so I'm kind of curious as to where Envy's going with it. As of now, though, it was solid enough to get them that defense.
I think that point is true. I mean, you can't fault him if you have a Furia heal is coming.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like, all right, well,
and you never know.
Exactly, and you can expect it. These guys are at that level where you would expect it if someone's low, and you're in a 1v1 in an open space. Barrage activated already, and so that is most likely on the upper balcony, and Stigma actually finds Envy with that. That is a big deal, and the Inflame comes through as well. And oh man, it's Furia shutting down Jalen Sanity just like that. Gives a heal on a Stigma, says what it do. El Zulu coming back saying, I'm here to play, and oh, Ginnikins almost gets knocked into it, but somehow stays alive.
Being able to use his dash's retreat at the right time, just goes backwards and is out of the zone long enough No, you're not going to be able to connect with that. That was almost a beautiful way to get rid of Furia.
Almost.
But he, even more gracefully, dodges the abilities.
Envy going down to that barrage earlier on, for me, seems like he might have gotten caught by either a shot from Cassie and the barrage, or maybe just used his flutter up to the ledge trying to get there faster, and then in a situation like this, had nowhere to go except maybe run down, and just was not able to escape the grenade, finishing him off. Ginnikin's here finding Kresnik in the back, but Jalen Sanity with a big kill into Ozo. Can he find this one? The stun is beautiful. Bagel, wow, making me say, wow, beautiful stun from below to help Envy clean that one up, and they just may have turned it around.
99% as they go, and they're just going seedling shots, anything, all that damage is going to be good, but Stigma has a barrage again, and no one to even shoot it at as of right now. He's still going to retain 60%, 40% since he fires one shot, but that's a lot of control, 99 to 99.
And there's nothing Bagel Wow can do. Kresnik just going down too fast. Unfortunately, Jalen Sanity is down and out. Hyso Florex again take a beautiful play and make it their own to finish this off. In these point fights, I mean, ever so close score, back and forth. But it is Hyso Florex in the lead yet again.
Being able to set themselves up pretty comfortably. I mean, I don't know if there's anything... I used to say this about Inara and Maldonado, but right now I'm feeling Inara, Ying, Inara, Furia is just frightening. Inara plus a really good healer, but when it comes down to being able to get, what we said yesterday, 6,000 health a second, gets a little ridiculous, and trying to get someone who has damage reduction on top of that is almost impossible to take her down.
The tracking of Stigma is pretty marvelous to watch, Gore. I mean, I love the way that he has taken this shrapnel and said, burst mode who, burst mode what, who cares? Let me just hit my shots. You notice I'm charging my ult pretty fast, and it's because I'm hitting all these AoE blasts with this grenade again and again and again. And I just think that Stigma's been a crucial component of the team, winning often fights against this Willow, and that's what Envy is trying to hope doesn't happen.
Trying to go forward. He didn't get any of that Furia heal that was right in front of him. Kresnik getting aggressive, but he's actually going to be able to save Ozone with that assist. He is at 1 health. One more shot could have done that, but he's going to be able to walk away with that shield, and now they're set up comfortably, but they do lose Gwennikins, so their healing is going to be offline.
And the reason I'm just so impressed with Stigma is because he waits. He actually sees that fight happening. He waits about half a second, lines up the headshots, and then goes for it. I mean, this is just fantastic. Also, I love the hot potato selection here because he's so focused on this grenade. He's just able to get it out of his hands at max damage, really being able to get those close-range explosions, reducing the cook time, and just being able to be that much more efficient when he does see the opportunity to use the grenade. Bounces it off, hits, and drops this in the back line. Jalen Sanity having to go back as well with 40 seconds still left. I mean, so much damage. He's already had a barrage in this fight. He had a barrage at the start of the point. He's about to get it again, 92%. He almost got 18% off of one grenade.
I mean, right there, Grenadier, you could see the cooldown reset. He got 2 grenades essentially in a row. If he had hit that second one, it would have been 2 clean kills. That would have been his ult back immediately.
My God.
And that might have been the pushback. That was just beautiful play. And again, Victor is one of those ones that I think a lot of people will write off immediately as, okay, well, he's like your standard shooter. But he has a lot of small things that can make him just so adept. And now with a couple of changes, he's become way more viable to a lot of these players.
I mean, Victor really is about the player, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's really about the decisions that you make, getting the high ground, going to low ground. He has the hustle, but it doesn't mean that, you know, it's easy access. You have to take the time off in a fight to go and run around the corners of Serpent Beach. This should be a wipe here as Ginnikins goes down to Envy. And it is a 2-2 defense, despite Hyso Florex having a lot of the run of that round. But again, Victor has to make these decisions. You know, every time he's hustling, trying to get into position, those are wasted bullets that could be hitting enemy players. And so that's really, I think, where the skill cap comes in. It's where do I go? Where do I stay? And Stigma seems to be having all the right answers for that.
So far, what I thought was honestly, especially after the way the first game went, you could see Hyso Florex having control and being well played. And of course, you have a lot of people who, again, have been veterans of the PGS for like a year at this point, who have been playing for a long time and know what they're doing. But you're looking at a team on the other side that is well composed. They've been playing together for months. They've gone to LANs together. Except for the inclusion of Bagel Wow, the 4 of them should have nothing but team synergy. And you're still being able to pick them apart. So Hyso Florex are doing a lot to impress me, honestly, throughout the set.
I get it, man. I'm relatively impressed as well. And look at this, the Dread Serpent countered by the Barrage and the Hexafire. And Kresnik just goes down to the point with El Zulu and says, okay, we know where you've rotated. We're going to rotate here as well. Earthen Guard, beautiful time. So Mother's Grace doesn't get in the knockback from Kresnik, and now a Stigma. They know they want to go for him. Beautiful! Kresnik takes down the Victor in the back line, but what can he do to stay alive here against the Cassie?
Now a couple of shots, a good shield.
Oh, no.
Maybe not enough dashes to be able to get him out of there, so he does get a good kill, but unfortunately kind of mispositions himself because of it, and especially because he has gone Fortress Breaker.
Yeah.
That shield's not moving fast enough for him to aggress with it. He loses it immediately.
That's my only question about him because, you know, there is not a ton of CC. There is a good amount. I mean, you talk about Inara, but you went Mother's Grace. You talk about the Pyre Strike, and you talk about Seismic Crash. Those two, which would have stopped the channel of course, the ability for her to shoulder bash and get that batter in when she gets selected. I mean, there are opportunities as well to go with some of the ultimate focus legendaries, but it's not going to work out. Fortress Breaker doing a decent job, but it hasn't been clear enough until just now that Buh might be able to capture the most crucial objective in the game thus far, the one that, if they push, can lead to a win, and they do it.
And this is going to be the first time they've been able to aggress as well. That's going to open up a lot more. I mean, I'm looking at Androxus, who's not necessarily known for being a defensive champion. He's not known for his ability to stop the payload from moving.
Yeah.
He's known for his ability to get into your backline and shred through whoever's health bar you happen to be looking at. It's going to be difficult with what Florix has picked up, but I'm still expecting a lot to come out of this one, and specifically watching where he wants to go, how he's going to position.
Ozone really content to kind of be the front line for this team, but it is slowly and surely melting, especially when he's fighting into that dead zone. Envy goes up into the ultimate. He's actually around the other side of the map, up in the air, and this is a big, big flank. He sees the one, finding Ginnikins, and Envy does it again. A beautiful, beautiful Fae Flight, and this forces everyone back. It completely isolates ASDF Master, no healing. Furia may come back, but I don't think at this angle she's going to be able to heal her.
And that is going to be a huge stagger. 10 seconds behind the next respawn, which was Furia right there. So you are set up perfectly to not have to deal with this Inara for a long time. But are going to be able to walk this around the corner, and they might be able to open it up. Ults are starting to come online for him.
And a long game, 13 minutes and counting, 14 now Gore, and a Sigma finds Jalen Sanity. Is this going to be the end for Florix? They fought so well, and Blast Flower doing this damage. I want to take a look at the damage charts before this is over and see exactly where Envy is, but no, it's all gone. ASDF falls, and no one is close enough, albeit they're relatively close to that fight, but no one's close enough to contest, and that goes the way of Buh.
And it goes to show, again, we've talked about it in the past, and you don't normally get to see it, especially in the PPL when you have teams that are really used to attacking and defending, but if you get into a kind of a, what is the word for it? A rhythm on the map where it's just like, okay, we're going to capture the point. Maybe we lose a fight, but we come back in. You just keep on pushing. You get the payload. You keep on going. And then it's like, all right, well, now you have to completely change it up. Time signature change, key change, everything. You're on defense.
Yeah, it's a different beat.
Completely different beast.
And I think, you know, what's interesting as we maybe head to the schedule or to look at this game, just to wrap up my thoughts, 2-2 in Paladins, it reminds me of something in soccer where we say, or football, or wherever you live. It's the idea of 2-0 is the hardest score in the game because it makes you feel confident that you've won. You're already two goals ahead. Yeah. But really, one goal means that they just have to score one more and it's all tied. And soccer, that goes from 3 points to 1 point. And it really just gives you this false sense of confidence. 2-2, but winning every point fight, and all of a sudden being tied, you have this false sense of confidence, like, oh, I'm going to win this next one, but it's not guaranteed. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're about to lose after winning both objectives. That's a tough spot to be in Paladins, and Florix experienced that firsthand as we take a look at the schedule, I believe, for what game is coming up next. It will be Big Egos versus Ferocity here in North America. Oceania a little bit earlier had Despacito and Kanga Esports take down Trident and Pantheon, respectively. And that will be our first set of the day wrapped up. Buck, congratulations on your first Week 1 win. And Big Egos now. Looking to see if those Egos will, I guess, stay big.
If they, or at least if the play will match the egos, right? It's like if you're going to have a big ego, you have to actually play to match it. Like, you can't have a big ego and be like, I'm the best, and then you come out and you just get flattened by every other team.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
That'd be like really the worst
weak situation.
You in the split and you have 0 wins, like your name's Big Egos.
Yeah. It's never, you know what? You always want to see a guy with a huge ego kind of get put in his place, or a girl, or any person, really. And sometimes it's like you want that moment, but it never actually is as satisfying as you wish. Because it is a little hard to see somebody who has such hubris kind of like, oh, man, you know, you kind of feel for him at that point.
You feel bad because you're like, man, this guy's always like up there. He's talking like how
you just don't know what you don't know what he's like without being a butthead, basically. I think that's kind of where I go for.
I think the key is have an ego, like self-confidence, right? Yeah. But also be humble. Like, recognize where your shortcomings are
Yeah.
If you can mix those two, that is the best way to push yourself further.
I actually agree with that, Gore. Great job. That's some good advice.
Good advice.
Take that if you're a viewer.
Some actual advice this time instead of me just making jokes.
Splitstone Quarry is map number 1. We like it when you make
What
jokes.
world do we live in that Splitstone Quarry is the first map?
Paladins, the realm.
Well, then again, we saw
Yeah,
Ying first pick earlier,
you
where
not seeing this
everything's
place?
backwards today.
Yeah, everything's backwards. We've been in the realm for the last year and a half.
True.
Where have you been?
Well, for a while, I don't know. I guess it's wherever the battlefield, because I was with Smite.
Gotcha.
I was with Hand of the Gods.
Gotcha.
I don't know
but
what
that's
that was
the
called. The board.
battleground.
The
So you were on the
battlegrounds.
battlefield. So that's where were you in Smite? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You know,
You weren't in the
I've been
realm. You
around.
weren't on the battleground. You just in the car.
I was in the siege map.
You in the siege map.
Forgotten
Okay. All right.
with the rest
you
of
in
the queue.
You're in like an assault. I get it. I get it. You're in siege and assault. All right.
They
Bomb
tied
King
me up.
and Androxus here for Ferocity. And Big Egos. Reminds me of that song, man. I like the big egos. Beyonce was.
I could have seen that go in a completely different direction. There are a lot of songs that use
Such a
I
big
like the big
egos.
blank that.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a double entendre. But
that-
I actually have this cup. I've been staying at a friend's house for the last couple of days, and the reason I thought of that Beyonce so much is they have a cup of coffee that says I have the same hours in the day as Beyonce. So I'm just like, you know what? Although this cup isn't something I would buy, it's true.
That is true.
You know, anybody's doing anything big time. You got the same hours in the day. You know, you do it yourself. It's not untouchable, man. You can do what you want to do in this life. Tyra, Barrick, Genos, Andrew, and Bomb King. This is a very aggressive 3 DPS composition, and I expect we'll see the Genos Astral Mark, and I think we'll see the hunting party here from Tyra as well.
And it's going to be interesting to see because this is one of those. I feel like we see on certain maps that can work well when it's a little bit more close quarters.
Yeah.
Right here for Splitstone, it's going to be a big leap for Ferocity. So I'm kind of curious to see if this is a strategy they've worked for Splitstone specifically, or, I mean, Big Egos. They just got Torvald, who has right now been seen devastating people. I'm kind of curious if they're going to be able to deal with him without a Leon.
Who's going to have more damage, Ant? I mean, technically, Tyra and Genos will be 40% versus the Torvald 30%.
True.
So if you're going off damage, Ant, they
That should
win.
be enough.
And let's talk about Poison, who had a brief stint on the Renegades and was really impressive in my opinion. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup here, but you're going against Edgem and Niju and Watkins and T-Mac and William355, who has been all over the place on Splice. Obviously was with that Team Purity with Rock Monkey and Rubu, a part of that squad that pulled that legendary upset at the November LAN of last year against SK, making it much farther and kind of putting PGS on the map essentially. So I kind of consider him one of the teams of the grandfather of the PGS, you know, just kind of like really putting it on the map in that moment. But that's the problem with picking Tyra. She has no vertical mobility on a map like Splitstone where that's what it's all about.
And you're stuck. You're in a corner. There's kind of a ramp next to you, but you can't move forward to jump on it because you're taking too many shots. You are just, unfortunately, in a kerfluffle, which is matching his name. I love it.
Well done,
with
Mark.
the way things have been going. But
Well done, good sir.
unfortunately for him, that is not exactly what you want to be experiencing, and that's going to be, I think, the big downside. You have to find that damage elsewhere.
You do. And I think this is going to be really interesting. They've taken a risk by going for the hunting party, saying, let's damage amp this composition. Let's make our triple DPSs that much more effective. And for me, because there is no obvious way where you have Cassie able to chase down a Tyra on that high ground. I think you have to keep Tyra on the high ground and fight from above, Gore. 75% counting here for Ferocity. Big Egos have one more chance, and that's a Torvald bubble. Saves Cassie's life. Doppy still in the back line, and now they've got a lot of things to look at here.
Being able to bounce in, he goes in for
Whoa.
it, but Ferocity are going to be able to capture that payload, just keeping Big Egos in check that entire time, locking them down a little bit here, a little bit there. No big kills, no big team fight win, no wipe, but just enough to push him back, make it so Edgem and the rest of the crew couldn't really feel comfortable trying to jump in for that point.
And I think, you know, Poison is going to be a really cornerstone of this lineup. You're also going to see the ability for Doppy to be a huge part of this lineup. He and Poison, with the vertical mobility they have with Poppy Bomb, as well as just the Androxus Nether Step dashes, are going to be the ones who have to challenge Niju up top. They're going to be the ones who have to really get into the back line and give Kerfluffle the space to play out of, because you know he's getting an Astral Mark, because that's 40% extra damage for him himself, but he just can't move in at any point in time.
Well, we have a little bit of time. I have to ask you,
Yes.
Am I the only one that every time I hear Poison or say Poison, I can only think of the song?
This girl is poison. Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun,
every
dun.
single time his name comes up. That is the only thing that goes through my head. Like,
Have you
on
ever
repeat,
played Just Dance?
I've played Just Dance.
So they actually had a dude doing some really sick dance moves to that, and that was the only Just Dance I had. My sister got it, and I kind of learned that dance, and I think you're remembering that also because I sang that yesterday when me and Nick were in here at some point.
That's a good song, though.
It's a good song.
It is
When we
really-
were shooting our silly stuff for next week's intro, I think we were singing that.
It's a hell of an intro, too.
It sure is, guys. Stay tuned for that as well on Tuesday. We've got a very, very funny show called Gather Round. We shot a funny intro for us, so make sure to tune in. We talk about everything console. After it's all happened, Poison getting very, very low.
Killing spree.
Like Bobby Brown trying to revive his career, not quite working out. But a legend in his own right, Niju finds 2. And then is thus able to take down Doppy and Pyrus. This is a tough map to push score. Really the lowest push rate in all of Paladins to be able to complete this from the starting point to the very end.
And one of the things I was actually mentioning earlier, we saw kind of, I want to say, the opposite of Ferocity's build right now. Like, they have a very aggressive, high DPS team, not a lot of health on their side, versus what we saw earlier, which was double frontline, double support, right? Double frontline, double support doesn't push as hard because they aren't able to pick up as many kills. But when it's pretty much all aggression, you have a lot more trouble, because even if you can find kills, you just don't have the health bars to stand around the payload for long. And I think that's kind of where they're feeling their issues. Even if Barrett gets on there, I mean, 3,300 isn't too difficult to burn through.
Wow, look at William's stat line here. 0, 0, and 4. I mean, that's a Torvald stat if I've ever seen it. Taking a look at the damage, Niju is obviously in the lead by a large margin. Going for Nightshade, it was unusual to see Envy in the last set go for Blast Flower, although I'm a big proponent of it. I consider Blast Flower to be probably my favorite and I think most effective legendary, but I can't discount the absolute magnanimous value we have seen from Nightshade over the course of these last months.
5,
So really 2 viable legendaries in my opinion for
3,
the Willow.
2, 1.
And I think that's been, I think the gist for me in 1.4 is opening up all of that ability. What can you have here? What can you have there? And being able to recognize the scenarios. Last game we saw the Blast Flower just because it was going to be more useful than what we would see out of a Nightshade.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love it. Just playing to the moment. Oh my God! Kerfluffle, did you see that damage? Oh my God, this dude melted. Triple kill, 40% extra damage. I guess that'll happen when you have that.
And that is like the perfect range, right?
Thank you, Hunting
He
Party.
was in just that distance where it's like, I'm going to get full damage on you,
Yeah.
and you're going to have trouble connecting any shots with me. Of course, you didn't really have time to react. By the time you noticed what was happening to your health bar,
Yep.
you were dead.
And I like this Fate Flight from Niju as well as the Dread Serpent, because there would have been so many dismounts that Poison could have gotten, and Poison actually had to retreat. And this is the Nightshade working brilliantly. Doppy can't get healed, takes so much damage, and now what's Bear going to do? They know this fight has been won. They have turned this around, but this is why they have to back off, and this is just beautiful play by Pyrus. He goes there intentionally. He knows they have 99%. There's no need for them to try and delay this wipe any longer. Now they have a 6-man working for them, but Kerfluffle going down is a big, big problem now that they're a man down.
Especially when you start looking at who's going to have more of an advantage and where the zone is coming from. Big Egos, it didn't feel like there was too much stopping them. A lot from that Fate Flight, being able to get that distance. You get your positioning, whether or not they were prepared to dismount you. Now, your Ferocity, you're trying to figure out how do we stop them from having that much of an adept showing. And I'd say the answer is Poison. If he can find a kill, that'd be a big opening, or just a little bit of space.
And that's what makes it so difficult, right? Because that's what I mean by the 6-man, that the entire team backed off because that's what happened. Poison was putting this pressure on the backline, is playing absolutely phenomenally, in my opinion. Oh, mama. Finds the reversal kill as well. He can thank the teammates of the Big Ego squads for feeding that one and sending Niju back into the dust. But you see how William had to be isolated there to stay on the point. Otherwise, if he leaves, they just give the point up, right? And that's what that 6-man is. The point becomes, the objective becomes the thing that has to keep at least one player there once the enemy team hits 99%, and that just gives you numbers advantages all over the map.
And now you're in this position. And admittedly, Splitstone Quarry probably has the most places to defend, but when you have a team like Ferocity doing exactly what they're doing here, you can't get to those spots. King Bomb going to be channeled just to go around the corner. Everyone's sitting down there, but he dies. If Doppy was alive, that would have been a couple kills, but they still end up picking it up. They just spread the love to the rest of the team. Poison, Kerfluffle, Pyrus, all going to be able to pick up a few and keep pushing this payload.
Kerfluffle has just been, I think, playing this so perfectly. I mean, he's showing up at the last moment as the damage dealer that he needs to be. He's playing on a map that doesn't suit Tyra initially. Although there are these random things that actually do support a Tyra being effective, such as a big fishbowl style map where Firebomb can take impact, and also this 18 streak happening for their Luminary Genos. I mean, this is all predicated on the fact that they have an Astral Mark Gore. As we see some of the items come in for the first time this game, check out what people are building.
The big one for me is going to be Kerfluffle. Doppy, I think, is enabling this as well. Both of them have Wrecker.
Yeah.
But Kerfluffle, you can see, not that high in terms of damage charts, but all of that damage has been kills. Like, it's all been converted into a kill. And with that Wrecker 3, I saw something, and again, it always hurts me when I see someone like Torvald and Nara, and their health bar just gets melted, because that is not someone that is easy to burn down, and that is exactly what happened to William 355 when he walked out, and it was all kind of on the back of just this damage boosting, the way they've been playing it from Kerfluffle.
I mean, this is very, very strong. This is where he needs to be. I wouldn't drop. What are you dropping for? I don't understand that. I mean, there's nobody who's shooting at you from the far end like a sniper. I think Kerfluffle just puts himself in the range of being taken down, but he's getting the heals, maybe serving his bait. There's the Dread Serpent as well, but Poison finds a kill to take down T-Mac and allow them to at least have some room. Maybe a little bit of an aggressive play, but it works out in the end for Ferocity.
Maybe not having to deal with your recoil pattern, you get on level ground, so it's a little bit easier as opposed to when you're above them. But unfortunately, now you see the team, what kind of happens when you spread out, you actually give that ground over to Big Egos, and now Kerfluffle, no matter where he stands, is going to be in an interesting spot. Everyone's going to be able to look at him and pincer him, and even right there in a good fight, he goes through. I actually believe Crossfire might have been thrown out there, and it's just not enough to close anything out.
Kerfluffle, I think, just really needs to be more patient. That's what's been working for him. And you have to have Doppy, you have to have Poison be in there. Take some eyes away before you drop. He can't be the first one and the only one out into the open. Pyrus is going to get there. It is going to be the Dome Shield. He will buy himself a second, but how much longer can he wait? Because the Hyper Beam pushes him away, but it still doesn't find the damage. Poison needs to get T-Mac and needs to get him now. There's the Immortal from Fernando. It's going to keep them all alive, Gore, but the support is still in the eyes of Poison, and Poison finds him just like that. A double kill for Androxus. Doppy gets another one, and now 99%. Doesn't look like it's going to turn into a capture just yet, as Big Egos have to fall back.
Looking for the Willow, going to be able to find it, but the boxing match is the question. Can you go for it? You
What?
don't have any healing. You're going for the punch. You're trying, but Style just hit a shot. Poison. I don't know if that was a misplay or if he just really wanted to see it. I didn't watch his ammo, but he had enough to be able to find that.
Misplay 100%. Oh, Pyrus! It was either Pyrus with a godlike shot or it was the turret that ends up taking down Niju. F in the chat. Turret OP. This is why Barrick always needs to get nerfed and will always need to get nerfed for the rest of his life. Nick somewhere is convulsing in pain. He doesn't know why.
He just feels it.
He's like, oh, what was that? Suddenly his belief in voodoo is starting to become stronger and stronger, but at this point in time, the mystery will remain unsolved.
I'll have to say, going back to it, I mean, even though Willow loses, Niju dies there, that captures the point. If you die to Androxus a couple seconds earlier, that point fight's still going on. No one has to retreat to get rid of the Willow in the backline anymore. Being able to stay alive, not through that one engagement, which, again, was why are you going for the punch? Just hit the shot when you can close that range. You give up so much space, you give up the point, and even if you can hold them back here, it's 3-2. Even if they don't get this push, they're going to have some comeback mechanic. Like, this is the perfect scoreline for Big Egos as long as they control the next point.
And what a big win for them, you know, on the side of Ferocity, because of the fact that they were so close to losing. Big Egos was about to do what happened to Hyso Florex last round and Buh, which is win 2 and then suddenly lose the third, which is the game-deciding point, where you can finally get yourself the victory and close out the match. So, you know, Edgem, I think, and the rest of this squad doing a very good job at obviously trying to hold on to this, but Poison and the rest of the squad just absolutely determined to not let this become the fate that they saw, or at least know of their counterparts on the other side of the bracket had.
And this is what you see on Splitstone Quarry. Timber Mill, Frozen Guard, ice mines, when it's just such a long run back to the payload, it is very difficult if you go down to actually get back and have any semblance of control, especially Watkins runs in, ends up going down right there. Members of Ferocity are skyrocketing on the damage charts, and they are just keeping control and finding kills left, right, wherever they happen to be coming at them.
17 seconds left.
15 seconds remaining.
15 seconds remaining. I didn't need to say that as well. I mean, a little redundant, buddy. We got to work together here as our chair 3, who's always in game. That kill onto Watkins is going to be tough. I think this is going to force them to go back. And again, Splitstone Quarry, you see how difficult this map is to push. That's why a lot of people, you know, like Gore, would be surprised at a first map Splitstone. But, you know, in many ways, I actually do like... Oh boy, nice time and space. But I do like maps like this that give players a lot of time to feel each other out and what they're trying to do in terms of their play styles today, and really just get that extra play time to be able to take into the game-deciding Game 2.
And this is, to me, it feels very G2-esque, where it's like, okay, we're going to try to practice a map, practice a strat on that map that works really well. And admittedly, there's always going to be a discrepancy between scrims and actuality, whether or not it's going to work competitively if you get the same draft you want, et cetera, et cetera. But being able to bring in what they have right here, I mean, I'm looking at Morale Boost Haven and Wrecker 3 there for Kerfluffle. He's looking at a lot of trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
But the one thing that has been the downside this entire time, the one thing holding Tyra back,
again,
is that no vertical mobility.
And she goes down again, and that's a through time and space. I mean, that's a really big aspect wasted, and Vaz played tremendously today. But unfortunately, that one does not go the way he would have hoped. But look at Watkins already having to use this, and hopefully he's going to get healed up. But T-Mac not taking too much of the healing himself, actually forced to run away, and that's a big shot from Priorus. They heard the King Bomb. They wanted to get out of dodge. And now Priorus is actually going to go and start prioritizing the objective. They've won the fight well enough. Let's get some objective capture.
Being able to stand right here, they're at 3 points, so all they need is to capture this one. Big Egos, though, have fought back, and I'm looking pretty much directly at Willow. 9%, so no Faith Flight actually just used. They don't have Immortal. They now use the Dread Serpent, but they only really find one with it. Is it going to be enough to actually open up the point?
And that's reinforced casing from Bomb King. Just having that 70% most likely in terms of resilience in his loadout has allowed them to do so much. And that Dread Serpent not to affect him, not to turn into a kill. 15-minute game. It's coming to an end right now. 48% counting for Big Egos. Ferocity back off wisely. Poison on Edge of Nose, still in the back line. Edge is going to find him. Need you getting low with the spray. T-Mac perfectly on the heal. William perfect with the shield. Big Ego starting to take more and more control. Ferocity have to make a move.
Dancing around 79 to 63 so far. Doppy looking like he's going to get isolated, but not killed.
Not
he's
dead.
Still alive as far as everyone is concerned. The healing not going to be enough to burst it. Big Egos with just that half comeback mechanic still able to capture.
And that's enough. This game could end in this round, and it would have ended if Ferocity would have captured. It looked like that way in the beginning, but now Big Egos are the ones who have the choice, who have the chance. And the 15-minute game's getting even longer here as the first one of set 2 is still underway. Priorus getting a little low. He may want to relax here. If Willow finds it, he's going to get the full reset on the dead zone. This is a Nightshade Willow. That's big damage for him. Doppy could be in trouble. And they've got William rotating as well, and that's Doppy. Niju gets it once more. The spray's coming out. I think he's starting to feel himself.
Hitting the 1-2 the way that you kind of expected to see it during that last map, of being able to bring it in. Splitstone Quarry, a different player, different talent, and this time looking just as strong, admittedly, on the Willow, but going to get taken down right there, and that's going to be the strength. Now you're getting into the area where Ferocity are holding on a little bit better. They don't have to worry about where are they standing. Is it vertical? Like, they have their base right there, so they're going to be a little bit more covered overall than anyone from Big Egos pushing in.
And you're seeing Accelerant actually picked up from Doppy. Now that that card is available again, that talent has been banned for... It has to have been 4 months at the very least.
It's been a long time.
So it's nice to kind of see that, why he gets that stun earlier. But Edge, oh my God, is he playing like he's on a knife's edge right now? Absolutely no mistakes, and tries to go for it. Kerfluffle's going to get taken down. It's looking more and more Gore like if Edge can find this one, it will put him into a 12 streak and put his team in a position to win. There's the Immortal. He's not scared. He's going to chase Kerfluffle, but Doppy comes through and finds this crucial kill onto the damage dealer that just hadn't died in the last several minutes.
Fernando gets caught out, left alone, honestly, more than anything. And that's going to be able to shut down Big Ego's push as it is right there. But they still have 30 seconds left. But again, you're looking at pretty much a repeat of the last round, where Ferocity is going to start moving, where they're going to start holding, and what Big Egos is going to try to do. There's not a lot of ways to get back to this payload. Every single pathway can be covered by Ferocity. And they were able to hold it last time, 20 seconds. All you need is a couple kills, and that can make the biggest difference.
Really can, and at this point, it's a very dangerous spot. Poison needs to do a good job of creating space, and they know that there's nothing to do here, but he's so scared. He's so scared. He doesn't get the explosion. This could be maybe a mistake, but it ends up working out perfectly. Accelerant, accelerating his opportunity to find the kill there.
Now coming around the corner, everyone looking to dive in. Watkins specifically jumps on the payload as fast as he can, but unfortunately it's not going to make a big difference for them. Stalls a little bit, gets the overtime timer set up, but now everyone, William, 355, Edgem, all getting taken down.
And that's a defense successful, Rory. You said it. It's all possible for both teams. They've battled here. A 20-minute game. Edgem using this ultimate because I think at this point Niju had picked up 2 kills. He was on a 10 streak, and you could just see that they might be able to push it all the way through here, only 80%, but what happens is he actually goes down right after this thanks to Doppy, and that is what makes all the difference. Edgem going down on this 13-14 streak was really what allowed Ferocity to get the defense.
Looking through, slash lines actually here are really telling, because the damage is always going to be good, but you can see where it translates. Edgem specifically, 18 and 9. Poison as well, 20 and 12. So a lot of the damage, a lot of the kills are getting put onto this Cassie, onto this Androxus, the people who you would kind of expect to be carrying. But Niju is in this position where if he can find it properly, I mean, he is bursting people left and right. He is able to find a lot of damage, a lot of control with the dead zone. And it's just a matter of staying alive long enough to have that impact.
And very intelligently, Poison stays on the, oh my god, on the mount, but look at this, Doppy and the rest of the squad taking so much damage, they're just backing off. And in many ways, this could allow them to find a little pick, and it does. Poison finds Niju after the Fate Flight, 39% and counting, but they are falling backwards and backwards and backwards. William trying to at least get a bubble to help his teammates do maybe some more damage. But Big Egos have kind of gotten what they wanted after that first objective.
69% and rising. They're so far in complete control of this one. 3-3.
Oh no!
Normally how you'd expect through time and space, not going to fully connect, or even if it does, the shielding recovery comes through from Torvald.
Didn't connect. He was able to juke it out in time. But Ferocity are ferociously attacking this objective like it is their last hope, because this truly is their last stand. And Pyrus, he's going to fall. Kerfluffle will be in the dust, and Va, he is going to be saying, Va humbug? I guess that's not a thing. But it might be.
He can.
Because he's not happy.
He can make it a thing.
Big Egos with victory number 1 after a 20-minute Splitstone Quarry game. Wow.
That's when you start feeling, and especially because they were first pick. I don't know if it was their map or not, but I mean, you come into that, you get a draft, and you're like, you know, this is looking good. We got a lot of damage. And then it just comes down, not necessarily to the draft and what they had as much as how it was played. There were a lot of times where, you know, you had mentioned Tyra jumps down onto the low ground.
Yeah.
No one's forcing you down there. You're in the position where you can't run around and get on the ramp. You can't jump up this wall. What are you doing down here? You literally put yourself in a corner.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Because it's a 3-layered map, and you have the bottom, you have the middle layer, and then you have the top layer. For her to get back there, it's just almost impossible. So don't give it up. Unless you have to. And I think at that point, he didn't even have the vision. You saw one of these points as we had a look at for map 2, where he threw the firebomb on the right channel, but the rest of Big Egos hadn't even aggressed past the grinder in the middle of the map. So it was just something where maybe the vision wasn't there. Maybe he felt uncomfortable not knowing where everyone was at. But, you know, really no big flankers that were chasing him down. No snipers that were forcing him off the top ledge. I think Kerfluffle playing the Tyra, you know, had to be perfect in that game, and unfortunately for the entirety of Ferocity, they weren't able to pull it out. Big Egos now with a chance to close out this set with one more win.
Being able to go through, Androxus this time does get banned away. Leon as well, Bomb King, Makoa. So front lines that were kind of the name of the game just a few series ago, sets ago, now are completely just missed.
And I think Khan really gets picked up here more so because Serpent Beach has a lot of angles, both on the push and on the mid fight. Towards the beginning of a push where he can throw people off with the overpower, where he can really command some of the space there. The Fernando obviously CC immune ultimate, that is going to help and buy some time, especially for a champion like a Drogos who's looking for those dragon punches onto the Khan just to keep him alive, even if the battle shout happens to CC immune him away for it for a moment. But boy, Khan and Furia, that's a rough one to give up so far.
I mean, you grab Cassie on there specifically because it's Serpent Beach. And everything that Big Egos has gotten here is just like, man, we wanted that.
Yeah.
No, we want this. We
Yeah.
want that. You lose Drogo's Fernando Maldonado Terminus, but admittedly to me, I don't know if that's going to be enough unless Drogo's has just a phenomenal game and Maldamba is hitting like the best Dread Serpents ever. I don't feel like there's enough damage right now on Ferocity to deal with it. And they have one pick to try and deal with what Big Egos has picked up.
And Victor really seems to be a choice here on this map specifically, and I think we're going to really look at Kinessa being the one thing that is really shaping up Ferocity's draft to have a kind of a kingpin here, to where maybe, hey, that's checkmate. You didn't really draft anything to deal with it. There is no flanker. There is no easy ability or easy access to our backline on this map. So you better have an answer for, otherwise we will be showing you exactly what it looks like to go back to base very often.
Now, I will tell you, I've learned this the hard way, but even with additional range and damage from burst mode, you do not box Kinessa that well. It does not tend to go your way, especially if you have something like Serpent Beach has, which is a lot of areas that you can kind of peek around corners. You're not taking that damage consistently. So unless Edgem just plays Kinessa wrong, there is not too much of a chance, I think, for that to come through. Of course, Poison isn't going for burst mode anyway, still has Shrapnel, which, again, I feel like that's a very Serpent Beach-esque. Because of where you can bounce the grenade, the control you can get from it, I think it's a little bit more in their favor.
I think so as well. And I think this was actually switched up.
Keep going.
Unless I'm just completely out of it there. But are these names not switched up? Kerfluffle did not win. Big Egos won. So this is, the teams are actually in the wrong place, I believe. Ferocity is actually in the place of where Big Egos would be in terms of character selection.
Yes.
And Edgem, although it says he's on Ferocity, he's on Big Egos, and actually is one of the players who won last game. So they are truly up. The team on the right is actually up 1-0. As the Snipe looks to just try to align himself with any bit of damage. And this is part of the thing, you know, no one is really coming into the line of sight for him very, very easily. We are realizing that we want to make sure we get these team names right. So we're going to come back just for a moment and get all that set up for you so there's clarity here on the broadcast for everybody. But it is Big Egos who are in the lead, but the teams are different. So that's the thing. The Kinessa team is actually the team with Big Egos, so that's where you want to pay your attention. We're going to get that sorted really quickly. But again, the Kinessa can be played around, and that's one of the things. When you don't have a sniper, you don't have any answer for the sniper, you can look at to try to augment what the sniper gives up, which is another presence around the point, and just really fight around the point, but fight in the corners that aren't visible.
And I'm looking more towards like Edgem's performance as well, right? Because not only is that aspect of, okay, if I play around the walls just fine, like you're not going to have enough of a shot on me.
Right.
But when you do get that shot on me, how much are you actually hitting? There are a couple shots just like that one where you're not hitting them. I mean, that's 3 in a row that don't connect on Inara. It makes no difference that he's actually there. It's the rest of the team that's making the big play. So Big Egos, this has to start kind of shaping up, crisping up, to be able to actually connect and make a big difference.
Yeah, I like that word. Good usage there. Ferocity going to find this one. And it really is just like pressure. How do you apply pressure on a sniper? You can apply it through a flank. You can apply it through another sniper. But you can also apply it through just forcing him into a bad spot because he has to look at the point. And that's what they did. They just stuck Inara on the objective. And they put Furia there as well. And they said, come over, come over. I mean, we got Inara and Khan. Make yourself known so you get some headshots, but then we'll be able to see you as well.
I love watching Furia. He'll stop right there because you see exactly what the team needs to do with it. They get aggressive and they're like, okay, well, maybe I'm taking a couple hits. You just step into the beam, you get the healing all of a sudden, and it changes 1v1s just like that. Things that might be a little bit more devastating for you now, swinging in favor of Ferocity. It definitely seems as though the Khan-Furia combo, specifically for this map, is going to make things a lot easier for him.
Oh, man, he almost fell. Beautiful heal, but it's still not enough. Edgem takes down Fryrus here. But this sniper has really not turned a profit just yet for this squad. The Khan with a big pick. And Terminus still out. Now just respawning. A minute 25. They're holding this corridor very safely. And, you know, big credit to Ferocity playing against this sniper. Maybe not expecting it as well, considering it's not really been often that we now in this meta see Kinessa or Strix picked.
A lot of players dance around them. They bring in the snipers maybe on Frog Isle, maybe on Serpent Beach, But I feel like most of the time on Serpent Beach, I've been seeing Strix more often than not, just
Sure.
because
Or
I think it's a little
Victors,
easier
right?
when
You
you
know?
have that stealth, or you have something that's medium range
Right.
to enable yourself a little bit more. Right now, Kinessa, even if you hit these headshots well, you're still standing in very specific parts of the map.
Yeah, and I think that's always going to be an interesting factor. It's always a fun thing to watch a sniper in these types of games. Competitive shooters. Pyrus has the shield. It's almost broken. He's got to watch that counter. If it does go to 0, then he will unfortunately have to have a cooldown. Khan initially has no cooldown on that ultimate, excuse me, on that shield, so he can have it on as much as possible. And I mean, they haven't been able to break this choke door. What do they got to do to get through this here?
I mean, coming through, the healing's been on point, the positioning's been on point, but now it is very much having to deal with Edgem being able to just burst them. They walk around these corners, and it's very easy for him to have line of sight onto their head. All it takes is 1-2 headshots, especially with William 355 being able to just shotgun you like that. It's just not enough to cope with that damage.
And Big Egos, I mean, really strong hold. They don't use any ultimates. They get a barrage out of Ferocity. And I just feel like the lack of commitment is showing very, very heavily. And I always knew Poison was fast at aiming, but I didn't know he was this fast.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta zoom. That was the quickest barrage I've ever seen fire.
Enemy killing spree.
And after the barrage, he goes back to normal speed. You know, he likes to just take
No,
his
he's gotta
time.
hit the slow-mo for a second. But that is, again, you know, this is something that just works. When you're going that fast,
Yeah.
you need to kind of
going
reel it
that
back
fast.
in, you know?
2.
Hey, I'm
I
never.
mean, look at Sonic.
Right.
Otherwise, you just run straight into some spikes, you lose all your rings.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
You know, it's Sonic Mania out here, and Poison is the new star of the franchise. I'm not sure what Sega has to say about that. But here's the Dragon Punch coming through as well, and there's the Immortal pair just in kind so that Drogos can stay alive. And he is looking for the Khan, but he's going to go down. It's just too far away, and Watkins and him use crucial ultimates. I think Fernando's going to get melted here, and it looks like he has gone down as well. A really rough start. They basically gambled it all, and they lost it.
Definitely not feeling like Hot Potato is being run by Poison right now in his loadout. You can see he's getting some nice long-range grenades, and he actually does have it, but he has it at level 3, so it's not going to be as accelerated as what we actually saw out of Victor earlier in the last
That was
set.
actually still level 3, Gore. I got to call you on
Was it
that.
still level 3?
Yep.
Then he's just not cooking it anywhere near as long.
Well, you know.
It feels different.
Yeah.
I think it might be the range at which he's throwing it.
That's probably true. I think there is that style, and that's why Victor is this character that just really is. It's such a bland character, in my opinion. And it's not negative. It's just a character that's very simple.
Yeah.
As Ferocity, ground is subjective, and so you are able to put your spin on it so much more. You know, I think those high-level characters and those really general characters allow you to see a player that much more, because the high level, not many people can do it, right?
Yeah.
The low level or the simple, wow, I never knew this character had such intricacies.
Yeah.
The medium characters you expect a little bit, but I think it's really those polar opposites where they shine. As Edgem hits a nice headshot on the Victor.
Well, I was actually mentioning earlier, I feel like I've said this every single game Victor's been in at this point, so I'm probably becoming a slight bit of a broken record. But it has been one of the things that with those champions, like you said, not only do you get to see the versatility from the player, but you also get to see how does the loadout work, where are you going with talents? Like, do you have something that fits burst mode better than shrapnel? Is that going to be better for this map or no? Where do you want to run it, and how is it going to fit into your team, into your play style?
Yeah.
And as of right now, again, we've seen kind of, I guess now, two sides of the same coin for Hot Potato. I'm going to hold on to this grenade, cook it until it's right in your face, and
Yeah.
blast you like I'm Bomb King, or I'm going to go for a Hail Mary and chuck this thing across the map.
Yeah, I mean, it reduces the cook time to get the maximum grade, but I don't believe that if you just immediately throw it, which we're seeing Poison do quite a lot, it will explode any faster. It just reduces
Yeah.
the cook time. If you immediately throw it, it should explode
Just
at the
goes
same
wherever it
time
goes, yeah.
per usual, because you're not cooking it, right? So to me, that would be the logic that it follows.
It's interesting to see it because I feel like there's been a couple areas as well where he's put it in spots where it's like, it feels like it goes too far sometimes, right? Where it's like, I don't think you were actually aiming for the person that's way back there. You're just kind of like, sometimes it's, let's see if I can hit Kinessa, but sometimes it's like, there's a Fernando who's one grenade right in front of you.
Right.
And you're not hitting him.
Well, you know, the problem with what Poison's doing is he's just missing some grenades. And
Yeah.
I think that's the big key, right? He throws that one onto Kinessa as a beautiful Solar Blessing heal comes through, but Pyrus gets right back down to 0 health, and Niju cleans him up after the Headhunter is used from Kinessa. But he should be cooking those, because it's harder to just land it on the staircase and have it fall there naturally versus just explode it somewhere mid-air, right near her, because you're running shrapnel. You're going to get that big AoE. That's what's going to happen for you. So I think that maybe just a little bit of a difference in preference for the two players and how they like to go about it. And that's fine. That's what Paladins is all about. There's the cook, as you see, just instantly released. And at that time, it does work to force Edgem back.
Now we're looking at, I want to say, a similar vibe to what I was getting on Split Zone Corey. Even if you get this as Ferocity, it's only going to be up 3-1. So you're going to be risking a lot if you dump any ults into it. 99% on Inara, now going to be able to take over. So they have the big ults available. Do they even need to use them? Right now, everyone on Big Egos is low.
Yeah, ouch, ouch. This is not looking good. And part of it is that Edgem gave up his space. They may force a Dragon Punch here. I mean, otherwise, Niju's going to go down. They want to hold it 3-1. Wow. And you can just see how difficult it is to maximize the Kinessa at times. Edgem misses 2 shots, just 2. And that's what has him force him back, and T-Mac back as well, the healer, around this cover. And that way T-Mac isn't healing anyone else. And also Edgem has lost all of the line of sight that allows him to have access to all 5 members and gives him so many better hiding points.
10, 4, and 11 right now on Poison. But you can see the damage. I mean, he's leading his team, but it is all in favor of Big Egos. And this is where I'm wondering if things start to slip up. This is what we saw actually in the same scenario for this last map on Splitstone Choreos. 3-1, Big Egos are behind, and they're feeling pretty uncomfortable, I would say, as far as things go. And then they just start fighting in a different style. They change up the way they were approaching the point, and it made the biggest difference.
Completely agree here. Dragon Punch again, and this time they've got the Fernando, so there is no safety for this punch, but he does find Inara, but still Poison with the double kill, looking to find the triple. That grenade, great use of the damage because he goes, forces Edgem back a little bit, and then he uses the grenade and the rest of his gun to finish off the front line. So great stuff from Poison. I can't say he could have played that any better.
I think I'm going to have to throw it as just very simply, even though we see even a different style coming out of Big Egos, they're stuck in this position where it's just countered. Ferocity know what to do, and they are expecting it. They're ready to go. Barrage comes down. He doesn't fire that last shot, so he keeps 20%, but that's 57 and rising. And
he's so happy that Niju went down to Kerfluffle in that, and Kerfluffle making a big change from the Tyra to the Inara this game. Wonder how that's going to work. Pryor still takes all the damage, but Solar
Like
Blessing heals it all back up like it matters indeed. Watkins without an ultimate. William without an ult as well. Big Egos maybe going to lose some of that ego after this game because Pyrus is keen to tie this one up and send it into a game 3, an overpower in hand. He's going to use it, and he's just going to walk away with William and just say, this is what you get for messing with my squad. Battle shout. But Kerfluffle making it maybe back in a little more interesting. Pyrus is low, and he's going to fall. Did we count our chickens before they hatched?
Watkins here, still alive. Overtime going to be reset. That is incredibly close. I don't think anyone's going to be able to know. T-Mac comes in now.
My God.
They're all too low. I don't expect this to go. That time, it's going to tick over. But they kept it close.
That was like
the
hustle of the American dream.
I felt the fright in my mind where I was like,
door-to-door sales.
Did we do the thing where we called it way too early and now the team's just going to come through to prove us wrong?
Yeah. I got to stop doing that because apparently, it is possible. Even though we've seen a lot of these games endings, I really have to focus on just calling what I'm seeing here because I get ahead of myself sometimes.
I thought it was
But that was like the door-to-door salesman, man. That was like death of a salesman right there. Just living every single day, knocking on doors. No. But just keep trying.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key to what these guys did. They put a standard, if anything, into the minds of Ferocity that says, we are not going to go down lightly. You may have beat us. There may be no way we're going to win this point. But best believe I will be slithering over that thing and making sure that we at least waste 10 more of the seconds of your life that we can.
So far, I've got the feel that Ferocity, I think they understood Splitstone Quarry, and they just weren't able to execute at the threshold they thought they were. Again, I think a lot of it was small mistakes that brought them down throughout all of that. That second map, everything that just happened on Serpent Beach, felt like control. Like, they expected Big Egos. Like, they're like, okay, you're going to do this. Like, this is what your draft does. Yeah. We're just not going to let you have that opportunity. It was honestly, a lot of weight onto Poison on Victor, and he was doing tons of work.
It was a lot of weight onto him, and the flexibility of our lineup just proved to be the more crucial factor. Edgem was just locked into areas that he couldn't get
Yeah.
out of. He was just locked into the lines of sight that had nobody in them, and therefore they just weren't able to make use of the sniper. In this map, though, because the sniper was so evident in terms of their play last game and such a big factor of what they were playing around, this is a sniper-oriented map, so she's the first ban. It's kind of surprising.
It's, I think, a kind of a compliment as well to Edgem, because it's like, even on a map where like we had control, we had a better draft overall for the map, and you had really hard lines of sight,
Yeah.
we're still kind of worried about your Kinessa. You were hitting us a little too hard for us to let that through.
Well, Edgem's the team that bans
Right.
that. So, but what they may be trying to do is to force Ferocity to ban Strix, or they'll get the only sniper again. That is
You
another
set up perfectly.
That is another possibility. So we have to wait and see here. First pick has been interesting sometimes. We know that Leon is sometimes in first pick. We've seen Ash first picked, right? I mean, there are a lot of question marks in my head, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a Strix.
There's a lot. I mean, if you don't go Strix first, you ban out Kinessa, right? And so if your strategy relies on having something like a sniper available for yourself,
Yeah.
if the other team picks up on that, even just a hint, they scoop it away. So if
Yeah.
you don't pick it here, Ferocity have the ability to take it, but you're always in this big issue of whether or not you're going to come through and actually be able to keep that kind of control, or if you're going to give it up. Like, I grab Strix, you grab Makoa Torvald.
Yeah.
Have fun.
No, I agree. I agree. And you know what? We are finding out that those teams are going to be adjusted. So it really was what you were saying earlier. A lot of respect for the Kinessa, and that is Ferocity who is actually banning out that Kinessa again. So saying we don't want to deal with that on Frog Isle. Let's take a look now at the P's and B's. Is Ferocity will be picking. And it must be that Big Egos really wanted to obviously have that map pick and give up the first pick here.
You
And
know,
that's Bomb King.
I would say, I think this is a double-edged sword. It doesn't matter how good Edgem's Kinessa was. Like, if you're going to ban one sniper, you
you
should
don't ban the
probably take the other or ban the other, because now they have the only sniper. They get the same control. This is a better map for it overall. Lots
Yeah.
of better positioning for Strix to take here, especially using his stealth, especially using the flare. Even if you get a really good run with Bomb King, Furia, and Nara, I don't know, I feel like Edgem might be even more spectacular on this map.
You know, it's a good question, man. There's a lot of options here. And it seems like they're going to go over the Willow. You know what? I actually don't mind this. I mean, the Leon is available. I think I might be keen to maybe pick that up. The Victor is something that also has enough AoE pressure from safety to be able to deal with the Strix, poke him out at least, especially in the stealth. Just get some damage numbers as to where he's at. The Ashe is kind of what maybe falls flat for me. I'm not sure I would have gone for that. I think that you have Torvald open. That is something that's very good to protect against a sniper. I don't know if that Fortress Breaker shield that we saw not really be too effective. And in at least that aspect of Ashe is going to be the difference, but they're going to go for it.
It's going to help hold certain angles away from Strix because the shield's going to be big enough. But again, what we saw earlier
But
is a
will
very good example. It doesn't move. Strix can move. All he has to do is reposition himself slightly, and that shield doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of options these teams could have gone for. It's down to the wire. Either way, you got to say that this was a good set. And these both teams have opportunities to do well this season in this league. So I'm excited about that in general. And it's going to be the slug shot Ashe, which if you're going to go for it, I think that's where you go, at least on this map as well. That's pressure onto the Strix. They know that. It's a Just Breathe Cassie for Watkins, ambush for Edgem at this moment in time. Let's take a look at the loadout that he's actually running for that. As the Ascended, the Strix will be probably the key feature point that they're fusing this all around. Guerrilla tactics, just so the eliminations give him that stealth, and relentless in tactical retreat. So if he gets in trouble, obviously he can move very quickly, keep himself scoped up. And he knows Pyrus is forcing himself towards the left-hand side, but Pyrus already going to shoulder bash in a different direction. You can just walk there, buddy.
And with the way things are going, it's actually, I think, beautiful because being able to use tactical retreat, having that movement speed, right now people know where Edgem is. They know where he's shooting from.
Oh, yeah.
You pop that stealth, all of a sudden you're in a different location. He's going to be difficult to lock down, let alone from the fact that he's fighting at this ridiculous range. And if you can keep finding shots like this, a headshot, anything, that Victor's not going to have a presence.
And I don't mind him rotating down here because this is now where they're landing up the grenades. That's where they're trying to obviously poke him away. Poison playing that Victor. But Edgem is just doing well to keep his eyes all on the prize. Finding Kerfluffle. William 355 taking him down. Doppy finding Niju in return. So 1-for-1 trades. Big Ego Ferocity tied up here. 39% William holding down the objective. And you can see Poison just trying to get damage onto Edgem, but it's just not enough. He's getting healed constantly, and Watkins is doing tremendous to hold down this left corridor.
At the same time, we're seeing Edgem try to get some damage down onto other people. Just not enough shots connecting. Bomb King going to get aggressive. There's going to be a stun right there, but no follow-up. The pushback from the rest of the team, as well as a kill, is going to be able to help create that space for him. 72 to 57, and now the shots are starting to connect.
I mean, Watkins has played so fantastically, but the problem is that Inara is still nice and healthy on the point, but look at Ambush, man. He is finding himself some damage to 1380, and that's going to be even more. The headshot, triple kill, and he's looking for the Quadra here. He's going to get it, Edgem with the Quadra on the Strix. Sign me up for point number 1, he says, and Big Egos take the lead in game 3.
And not even the way you expect a Quadra to come out on a Strix. You expect him to be sitting back, being able to pick people off, headshot, headshot, headshot. He gets aggressive, he gets in their face, not expecting a Strix to come running at you around the corner. You don't really know what to do when all of a sudden that sniper's going to be able to come through. That's 1,200 clean damage that you can pick up, let alone 1,800 if you get that headshot.
We're going to call Edgem Mr. Clean now?
Mr. Clean.
Does he have a bald head,
Mr. Clean it up.
muscled out, white t-shirt going on look in real life?
Not sure.
Most of these players have anime profiles, so I'm not really sure what they look like unless they come to LAN.
I like the idea, like, if Edgem qualifies for LAN, he does come, and he's actually just, like, 6'8", really buff, bald, Mr. Clean looking guy. Like,
I like it, man. All right, Edgem. Show us a pic, bro. Show us a pic. We'll retweet it later. 133 left, Big Egos. Absolutely having a star-studded performance there. The accelerant by Davi again, just good stuff to be able to see that. The Dread Serpent forces Davi out of the line of sight, and he knows where Edgem is. This is what he tried to do before, but Watkins, serving like Watkins to Sherlock Holmes, has honestly been the really best sidekick that Edgem could have asked for. He has protected that left-hand corridor by himself against an Ashe and a Bomb King as a Cassie. I mean, I get it, she's got to disengage, but that I don't think that should be happening.
not normally. And I feel like it's always been that area, especially with the way the aggression was coming around the statue. You're in a relatively open area, a couple of more shots. It's not going to be just Cassie looking at you. Willow is going to be able to find a little bit of damage, and then you aggress into Strix. And then, okay, well, if you're jumping in at half health, it's a different story. All you need is Watkins to find a couple shots instead of having to be able to 100-0-2 people in a row.
I just feel like the Ashe was also a problem here. You know, I think Primus has played well, but I just didn't see the Ashe fitting in that way. I think obviously they waited for their second tank a little bit late into the draft. You know, they wanted to prioritize the Furia. They wanted to prioritize the Victor. You know, in this situation, do you really think the Victor is going to be taken by Big Egos? The Strix and the Victor? I don't know if that's something that's a little too one-dimensional. But apparently they just really, really wanted it. But this Ashe is just having just the worst time, man.
I mean,
and I don't know. This looks like a 2-0.
And that lead, even with its inclusion of like it being increased, even with the heals coming down, I mean, Furia, that Pyre Strike has not felt anywhere near as impactful. I'm actually wondering, like, was she running the heal for Solar's Blessing, or is this going to be something a little different? Because it doesn't feel like she's healing anywhere near the same amount that we've seen in the past.
I thought it was Solar's Blessing. We'll have to take a look. It does look like
it
right
might
there.
be just difficult to deal with.
Because,
I mean, kinetics and dead zone
well,
on the other
dead
side.
zone, yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. That's what we see that Solar Blessing really get countered at. That's the hard counter for Solar Blessing. Just the no healing at all. It's the only way. Cauterize 3 is not even enough.
Yeah.
It's not. It's honestly not even enough because then you're at 600 health a second. No healer does 600 HP 5 on a heal constantly every second. That's not HP 1. You know, health per second. It's HPS. Sorry. I might as well say UPS at this point. I've said that many acronyms for something. But at this point, you have to realize that there is absolutely no way without Willow that Solar Blessing does not heal its target effectively enough to keep them alive. And that is where they're operating. And that's a really good Solar Blessing as well. It keeps Pyrus healthy. And maybe that's what Vol just needs to do. Make sure that Pyrus is getting the majority of that healing.
And being able to find it in the right positioning, around the right walls, being able to use that. It's difficult to aim something through a wall to hit a teammate, but you can't see their name. You can recognize where they're going to be standing, so you can try to aim for it just a little bit. And as of right now, they're going to be starting this one off a lot better. Poison with a double kill, 4 members down on Big Egos. And with comeback mechanic, that's pretty much all you need.
I completely agree. 89% and counting. Ferocity, they're going to take this one as well. Big Egos with the 2-0, but Ferocity with the comeback mechanic and a nice early start with aggression ends up working out. And this is where Pyrus, I mean, for me, you know, this is where you live. This is what you own. This right side, you know, you have the health, you have the damage, and you have the backup with the Accelerant Bomb King. I mean, just easy stuff for you. But just noticing as well just how well Big Egos are using that Willow to cut off the healing and how well Watkins has been playing in general. Ow.
A lot of ow. Especially when you have the Pyre Strike stop. It does a little bit of healing, but at that point, Pyrus, the way he was stepping, leaves it. And I think that's been the other big thing. I love the way Ferocity is using this heal as kind of like a fountain of youth, right? It lands on one player, and like everyone's jumping into it to try and get a little bit of the healing.
I like it.
And you have to step in for like a second, and it's going to full heal you. So you're going to be able to get the benefit, but it does open up Big Egos that opportunity of just being able to say, "This, we know where you're going. We know what you're looking for." If Furia doesn't have Cherish up, like you're done.
Yeah, and that's where you just talk about these small things making the big difference, especially in a long, extended set. These players are getting prepped to, you know, potentially qualify for LAN, potentially make that run that we've seen PGS teams make in the November months, and that changed the dynamic of their futures forever. Maybe punch them a ticket into the Pro League, or at least some of the players that make the biggest difference there. And so these are the little things. It's not the normal Paladins. You guys know how to play it. These pros are going to have to get really good at being excellent all the time in every detail.
And with the way things have changed, we had mentioned it a little earlier, but there's been a format change. This is no longer the PGS that was, okay, you play in week 1, you qualify for week 4, we don't see you for another month.
Exactly.
This is every single week. These 4 teams are playing each other. Excellence breeds excellence with this. So with the way these 2 teams have been, I mean, it's close already.
Yeah.
They're both going to be able to come out of this one better for next week, and I'm expecting a lot. By the time we end the BGS for this, whoever qualifies for HRX is going to be top-notch.
It's going to be by far the best development cycle they will have as PGS players. And I think anyone who's in it right now is going to gain a lot, learn a lot, and the entire community of pros is going to get better as a result of this. And I just love what's happening here. William with a beautiful slide there, looking like Michael Jackson, but unfortunately is no longer for this world as Poison takes him down. Trying to tie it up, but overtime has been ticking away. 9 minutes gone. Knockback from the disengaging Cassie. They've got all 5 up, make that 4 as Doppy does fall to Watkins, but Poison trades back to make it a 4v3 as he finds Edgem, and Pyrus finds a nice kill on Watkins.
Kerfluffle's going to have a lot of healing dumped into him, so Big Egos are going to have to dump a lot, but even with their respawn proximity, they are low in health. They don't have enough to really dump onto this payload and stop it. All Kerfluffle has to do is stand here, and as long as Furia is alive and behind him, he's not worried about anything.
Yeah, and that's really the benefit of this type of a coordinated position. When you talk about a payload and where Inara needs to be, it's really hard to miss that Solar Blessing. But it's just difficult here. You actually will see in this moment a Pyre Strike should fly around, and Pyrus doesn't touch it. And that's because he just can't get there in time. It is a very difficult thing to coordinate unless you have communication with your team. And even then, you kind of got to look out for it.
Yeah.
You got to look out for it.
That's actually part of the reason we see a lot of these Furias start running anything to increase the radius, make it a little bit bigger, make it easier to hit, just because otherwise you're in this position where if I throw it just slightly to the left and they take even a step towards you, you're out of it. Like, you have no choice but to just dodge my heal. And because it's slow moving, it's very difficult to get that long range on it.
It's such a big swing too, right? I mean, like, one step to the right, I'm alive to win the point, and I'm never dying. One step to the left, I didn't get healed at all. You know? It's just a very interesting thing. Really good stuff from Niju over there. Big Ego's just using the dead zone to stop the initial Solar Blessing, but will he be able to stop the other? That one used maybe a little bit more advanced. It does not hit Kerfluffle, and now you can see Kerfluffle and his health bar slowly waddling down as T-Mac finds the kill. And, you know, if that Solar Blessing hits, maybe we're looking at a different game with Inara still alive.
I mean, the way things are playing right there, you saw that barrage comes through, and immediately Willow, I'm not even sure if it was full intention, but I get hit by one, I'm behind a tree. You can't see me anymore, and you just know that kind of thing, especially for Niju. Keep staying alive right there. Gives them a little bit more pressure. Now Ash going to be going, does get the leap off, but actually gets disengaged. No, goes for the second jump, and Pyrus is just barely alive.
And he needs to heal bad. Pyrus needs to heal right now. Oh my god, but Ferocity had lost the Furia. that is such an unfortunate situation. If she is alive, I mean, Kerfluffle, Pyrus, they're both healthy, but the healer goes down. So credit to Big Egos, and I'm assuming Watkins as well with this Just Breathe Cassie, who beyond that range is hitting for 850 and taking down probably the most important member of this squad here.
And being able to just find these shots. There's been quite a few moments so far that I've seen Cassie pick Ash off in the middle of the air. Right there, you didn't hit it, but then you just waited out. Like you said, once Fury is gone, you don't have anything to worry about. It's easy heals once she's alive, but whenever you're gone, that damage is going to be felt. I mean, you have Brand, Kinetics, and Dead Zone. There is no healing that you can do if Furia is not around.
And that's why Solar Blessing needs to be talked about. Do you go for that if there's a Willow around? Because A, it's negated, and A, it's a very big I win it all or I lose it all. It's going to roulette and betting it on black or red and saying this is going to determine my future. And that's unfortunate because if a Willow is there and saying, oh, sorry, this is the time you bet it all and I'm here with a Dead Zone, you lose the point. Because that's what you're counting on to keep your front line alive. And so that, to me, is where we may start to see Cherish definitely still something that players go to as this meta develops when they don't get the right bans and picks in order to feel comfortable that it won't actually be stalled out.
I'll say there's two things. One is you often can run into scenarios like that as well, where you throw it out, but there is someone, especially with increased radius, that's like right next to you.
Like, homie, really?
And your heal doesn't move anywhere. It just stays on top of you. You don't get the person that you were aiming for. Kerfluffle actually going to end up dying because of all of that. Well, potentially, if things keep going this way. That's going to be the heal, and that is the other side of it. Willow has to be a little reactionary. That Dead Zone doesn't come out until after that first second. As long as you get that, you get the healing.
That's true. It's got to be right on the money. But luckily, you can see it travel, right? And that's the big thing. So you should be prepping it. You should be aware. More so, it's going to be an exercise relatively easy for Willow to pull off, and more difficult for the Furias and the frontline combinations. And right now, Big Egos, man, they're just rolling. Watkins. What a terror on this Cassie. And Cassie, to me, when Edgem on Splitstone Quarry with Watkins here in this game, has been the difference maker. It hasn't been Doppy on the BK. It hasn't even been the Willow. They've traded places. It's really been the Cassie that's been so consistent in both wins for Big Egos. And Edgem doesn't get it on the Kinessa, but looks real good. And potentially getting it right here is Pyrus with a last stand trying to stay alive. But Big Egos will clean up set number 2, but their first set of week 1 here in the PGS.
And that last death there, when it comes down Pyrus, that leap, a little bit more horizontal movement. You go a little bit further, and that felt like someone jumping onto the payload and not accounting for the fact that they go a little further now and landing a little too high. And then once you get that very vertical distance, you still take the damage.
Yeah, it's a rough one, and I think a lot to look at. A lot of the tape will be studied by these teams, but let's take a look at the standings here to finish up what is the PGS and day 2 of this first week back after quite a long break. It's Despacito 2 and Kanga Esports and Oceania who pick up the W's, as well as Big Egos and Ba, who take down Ferocity and Hyso Florex. Hyso Florex goes down 2-0, but Ferocity make it a 2-1, and so that will matter if we start heading to tiebreakers towards the end of the season. Taking a look at what we have upcoming this week, we've got SCA on Thursday, and that'll be the lone one that we see tomorrow. But then Friday, we'll be right back at it with a doubleheader with CIS, the more Russian region, and then Latin America finishing things off. That'll be an interesting one with Hecate and Fuzzy Logic no longer playing in that region and all those teams being swapped around.
I'm kind of curious as to what their name's going to be this time around, because I feel like I've seen them now play under, I think, 3, so this could be the 4th new one. And again, like we mentioned it at the beginning, mentioning it now, you lose 2 of the DPS and you have to wonder, are the front line really as good as like we've seen them, or was it being enabled because they had such a good backline as well?
That's right. Big questions for me. I can't wait to see that stuff. Of course, SEA will be tomorrow. Make sure you guys join us at 11 a.m. Eastern Time here in the PGS. That'll do for today's broadcast, though. My name's Evan Rayner, and Rain Day Gaming on Twitter. You can follow me there and keep up to date with our news, as well as William Newberry V, or Goremizer, where you can check in with us and keep tabs on Paladins Esports. That's it for the broadcast today, but we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. As always, never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all in the realm.
Hey there, Paladins fans. My name is Gormizer, and I just wanted to inform you that we're going to have a special episode of Esports Weekly September 4th, the same day that the PPL is going to be returning. As always, you can watch that on live.skillshot.com, as well as keep up with any updates about the show at twitter.com/paladinspro. But until then, I'll see you next time.